David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety.
For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety. For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the correctional facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety. For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
David Crispin with the United States Marine Corps.
Jacqueline Beam, 519th Military Intelligence, U.S. Army.
Matthew Hernandez, United States Navy.
Keith Claxton, United States Navy.
Paul Portillo, United States Navy.
Robert Griego, U.S. Navy, Operations Specialist.
Chris Oakley, United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, State of New Mexico Army National Guard.
Melinda Medlin, United States Army.
Norman Aragod, U.S. Army National Guard.
Raven Nieto, United States Army.
Oscar Martin Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Martin, United States Army, retired.
Valentino Baca, United States Marine Corps.
Jeff Folgate, United States Air Force.
Kenneth Quintana, United States Army, and as well as New Mexico National Guard. Combined service, 24 years.
Santa Fe County is hiring. Every Tuesday, Public Works holds a rapid hire event at 102 Grant Avenue at 8:30 a.m. Also, the Correctional Facility holds a rapid hire event every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That is at 28 Camino Justicia. We have great jobs, great pay, and great benefits. Come work with us.
Why do you work for Santa Fe County?
For my family.
For your safety. For you.
For my community.
For the public.
For the community.
For the retirement.
To serve my community.
For my family.
For the outdoors.
Order at 2:15. Happy Halloween. As you can see, our dais is staffed with elves and wizards and Marty Moose, and I am a tiger, which I think you all know anyhow. Could I please have a roll call? Plus, we have our deputy clerk dressed up also, so thank you.
Of course, Madam Chair, or Madam Tiger. Commissioner Camila Bustamante.
Present.
Commissioner Justin Green.
Here.
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Present.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton.
Here.
And Chair Anna Hansen.
Present. Thank you very much. Next, we will go to Pledge of Allegiance, State Pledge, Land Acknowledgement, and a moment of reflection. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the sea symbol of perfect friendship among the United cultures. I wish to acknowledge that this county building in Santa Fe County is in the original homeland of the Tewa people, and the city is known as Ogapowoge Owenge, the White Shell Watering Place. And next we will have a moment of reflection from Victor Vigil. Okay. I thank you. Please make sure it's on green.
Dios, ponemos nuestros pensamientos y nuestros en tus manos. Todo lo que salga de nosotros sea mejor para nuestro condado y para nuestras vidas. En nombre de Dios. Amén.
Thank you. Please give us your name.
Lenin Armendáriz.
Thank you. So we have it. Thank you very much, Lenny. I also want to take a moment of silence for all the people in Maine who have had to experience another senseless shooting, and also all the people who are suffering in Palestine and the Gaza Strip, and all the Israelis who are suffering. It is a sad time for the state of the world and all the people of Ukraine who are still suffering. We send them our prayers and blessings. Thank you. Next, we will go to approval of the agenda. Manager Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The initial agenda for today's meeting was published on Tuesday, October 24th, and the amended agenda was posted on Friday, October 27th at about 4:57 p.m., which is in excess of 72 hours before today's meeting as required by the Open Meetings Act. In terms of substantive changes between the two agendas, item 6E was withdrawn. In addition, item 7B was added to the agenda. That's the potential authorization to publish title and general summary of an emergency ordinance related to short-term rentals. In terms of additional recommended changes being made by staff today, we're requesting that legislative priority resolution items 6B through D be withdrawn at this time, and that those items will be brought back most likely in November. That will allow those resolutions to be updated for any priorities that emerge from the strategic planning process that's underway. It'll also allow us to work directly with individual commissioners before those hit the dais for public consideration. Be happy to answer any questions about those changes.
Any changes, any comments from the board on the changes?
I'd make a move to approve as amended by the county manager and appreciate his amendments.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Green, a second by Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we will go on to H, years of service, retirement, new hires, and recognition.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm going to identify for the board those employees who are celebrating significant milestones with the county, namely 5, 10, and 15-year anniversaries. I want to also acknowledge a healthy list of new hires during the month of September, and then finally an employee who will be retiring this month. In terms of years of service, the following employees are celebrating 5 years with the county: Aaron Poole, Forrest Joy, Abel Perez, Christopher Serrano, Rosalie Vigil, Zachary Archuleta, David Crespin, Miranda Gonzalez, our own Sarah Smith, Jennifer Wilson. So congratulate all of those employees on reaching a 5-year anniversary milestone. At 10 years, want to congratulate, acknowledge, and appreciate Joe Vigil from the Sheriff's Office. And at 15 years, Michael Plummer in our Corrections Department. So thank you to all of those employees for their years of continued service to the county. Moving on to new hires in the month of September, we continue to see very positive momentum in our adult detention facility. And in addition, we have a very healthy academy in our fire department, which, if all employees hired into that academy successfully complete it, we'll be looking at having our vacancies down to approximately 3 or 4 at the end of March when that academy is graduated. With that, by way of overview, the following were new hires in the adult detention facility, and I apologize in advance to the extent I mispronounce anybody's name. Chima Zubicki, Camille Cordova, Robert Cornett, Megan Fiengo, Sarita Sanchez, Nicole Valdez, Ryan Wakanda, and Eric Weaver, again, are all new employees during the month of September in our adult detention facility. In the county manager's office, we had a new employee in finance, Kelly Galizio, and a new employee in our HR risk management division, Isaiah Vigil. The following individuals are all new employees of the fire department: Cameron Crawford, Stephanie Findone, Nathan Grael, Cassian Jones, John Calmer Jr., Paul Lovato Jr., Vincent Reese Gonzalez, Jude Romero, Sierra Schur, Samuel Strong, Matthew Wasson. In our Health and Human Services Department, pleased to welcome Christine Logston and Michael Mason. In our Land Use Department, Maggie Valdez. And in our Public Works Department, Michael Hart and Joseph Padilla and Millicent Fallis. And then finally, we have a new employee in RECC, a communications team leader, Gregory Archuleta Lynch, and 2 new employees in the Sheriff's Department, Yehera Salas Banda and Ashley Valdez. And then finally, on the other end of the spectrum, we wanted to acknowledge the retirement of Travis Darnell, who is retiring from the county after approximately, looks like 12 years of service, and he's retiring from the Health and Human Services Department. So again, join me in acknowledging our new employees as well as our retiring employee and those that are celebrating significant milestones with the county.
Thank you, Manager Schaefer. I'm happy to see a nice long list of new hires, and I also want to congratulate everyone who has been here for 5 to 10 to 15 years. I remember 5 years ago when Sarah Smith came to work for me, and she had joined us for our first Halloween. So I have a very soft spot for Miss Smith. Anyhow, so I want to recognize you for all the hard work you have done at the county. Thank you. And thank you everybody else for joining our team and staying here and making Santa Fe County a better place. It is a better place because of all of you. So thank you very much. Any other comments from Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to congratulate all the new hires and especially the group of staff that work so hard to get these people hired. I think it's great that our new hires are outnumbering our retirements by a good margin. That's a good sign, and thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, thank you. Next, we will go on to Employee of the Quarter. Manager Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So we have 4 Employee of the Quarter nominees, and I'm going to identify each of them, read their accomplishments that led to their nomination, ask them to all come forward at the same time to receive their certificate from Ms. Smith, and then I will announce the person who was awarded the countywide Employee of the Quarter award. So starting with our public safety group, the nominee from that group is Jeffrey Folgate. He's a Fire Protection Specialist 2. Jeffrey has played a significant role in the creation of 2 fire and life safety programs in the fire department. The first program is the New Mexico Community Risk Reduction Network, which Jeffrey organized. This program includes other agencies, the City of Santa Fe Fire Department, the Bernalillo County Fire Department, Espanola Fire and Rescue, and American Red Cross, and provides education to the public about fire safety and life safety. The second program is the Fuego Safety Squad Training Day. Jeffrey had a significant role in creating this program and continues in the program by educating young students and their families about alarms, home escape plans, and identifying vital fire safety protocols in homes. So congratulations to Jeffrey Folgate. From the Sheriff's Office group, Albino Gallardo was nominated as a Sheriff Deputy 1. Deputy Gallardo displayed his dedication to the Sheriff's Office after responding to an emergency call in which a home blew up. Deputy Gallardo went above and beyond his call of duty to try to find a person who could not be located due to the explosion. He found the missing person and attempted life-saving efforts. He kept his composure under immense stress and secured the location until the arrival of additional sheriff personnel. Deputy Gallardo is a prime example of commitment to law enforcement. We have 2 nominees from the elected office group, one from the assessor's department or office, and that is Casey Janes, Assessor Systems Programmer. Casey has been extremely valuable to the Santa Fe County Assessor's Office. He consistently goes above and beyond his job duties. Recently, Casey mentored a summer intern assigned to the assessor's office. He carries himself with professionalism and impressive knowledge base. With Casey's positive attitude, he has taken the lead on the assessor's office workflow projects, training staff members, and providing technical assistance. He has also collaborated with IT to update the network server for the department, which was long overdue. His extensive research and critical thinking has helped all staff in the assessor's office. And then finally, also from the elected office group, Destiny Romero, who was nominated as administrative assistant before she assumed her new position in our growth management department. As the administrative assistant, Destiny has taken on a leadership role in the clerk's office. She temporarily served or supervised the records and recording division and has excelled in that role. Destiny has also been training all new staff in the records and recording division and providing critical assistance and testing in the online self-service portal launch. Destiny has also streamlined the front desk and constituent services processes. So again, congratulations to all of the group Employee of the Quarter nominees, and I'm pleased to present the countywide Employee of the Quarter award to Fire Protection Specialist 2 Jeffrey Folgate. I'll give him that award, and I will ask them all to come up for a picture.
We'll come around to the front so we can take a picture. Congratulations, everyone. Congratulations, everyone, on the awards and for your dedicated work to the county. Next, we will go on to approval of the item 2, approval of the minutes, action item, request approval of the September 26, 2023 minutes.
Madam Chair, I have some changes.
Okay. Madam Stenographer, Karen, we have a few changes from, first from Commissioner Bustamante.
Madam Chair, page 6, the fourth line down from statements by Commissioner Bustamante, where it says, because I appreciate the independent, that should actually read, I appreciate that this suggests. Page 7, and on page 43, the line that says, the next thing I'll just sort of say, I don't know, you're doing what is, please scratch that line. It's not coherent. It's not what was said, and if it's gone, it doesn't lose anything. It's a line under, I was at Santa Fe Community College when they brought Ethel. It says, the next thing I'll just sort of say, I don't know if you're doing it. I was confident, to be scratched. It doesn't refer to anything. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other changes from anybody? No. Can I please have a motion to approve with
So
changes?
moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Bustamante and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we will go on to consideration of proclamations, commission resolutions, and recognition. The next is requesting a letter from the board to the New Mexico Environment Department in support of their statement of bias for selecting of the remedy for correction action at Los Alamos National Laboratory Material Disposal Area C. I think many of you know that I sit on the technical working group with DOE and N3B. I've sat on that since 2020 of March. We have gone over these remedies numerous times, and numerous times I have requested that they look at complete cleanup. Personally, I would like Los Alamos and the Pajarito Plateau to be cleaned up to pristine standards, which is what I believe that many of our tribes would also, and pueblos would like to see happen to the Pajarito Plateau. But this letter is in support of complete cleanup of alternative number 4 to clean up MDAC. And I want to thank County Attorney Young for his work on this letter with me and getting it to the place where it really represents the feeling of Santa Fe County and how important it is for our drinking water system that this area be cleaned up. And with that, are there any comments or Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward. I agree that it's so important that we clean up the nuclear waste completely so that it's not a danger to our groundwater. New Mexico as a state, has adopted a standard that our groundwater will not be polluted, and this honors that. And I think that if we're going to be producing more nuclear weapons at LANL, the least they can do is clean up the mess from prior research. So I agree wholeheartedly with this letter and the sentiment. Thank you.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate this letter wholeheartedly. I also like to congratulate the the New Mexico Department of Environment for choosing such a bold action here. I think that's the right way to go. I do have two comments to make about the letter, if I may. One in the body of page 3 in the middle, where the paragraph speaks to the regional aquifer is about 1,000 feet under MDAC. I thought that where it continues to talk about communities from Los Alamos to Albuquerque, I thought that we should quantify the number of people, that it is close to 1 million people drink this water. And so that we could add the communities along the aquifer have populations of close to 1 million people, and include additionally 9 Native American Pueblo communities, so that we could specifically call that out and make that apparent in this letter. If that's okay, otherwise that. And then also in the CCs, when we're sending this out and CCing this, I thought it would be polite if we sent it to the cities of Santa Fe, Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and the counties of Los Alamos, Sandoval, and Bernalillo that are all along the path. It's a pretty extensive list of communities and stakeholders listed, but I thought there were a few that might be missing that might appreciate this.
I have no issues with those changes. I think that it's a good addition. I think it's good to remind LANL how many people are actually affected, and that is basically about half of the population of the state of New Mexico, which is a little scary. So I don't think that $805 million is too much to pay for the health of our citizens. And one of the things that I think is really important is that this is the cost. The cost of cleanup of nuclear waste is part of doing business as a nuclear weapons manufacturer. That cleanup has to be included in the cost continually, and not just for legacy waste, but all new waste, that they have to consider those issues when they are making pits and when they are producing this type of weapon, because LANL is a nuclear weapons laboratory, and that is their major business. So I accept those changes. Jeff, can we get those made? And this letter is due by the 7th, so we have time. And so if I can have approval, a motion to approve this.
I will move to approve of the changes as accepted by the sponsor of this. Thank you.
And second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for reading it. Thank you for your support. I feel this is really important. I have personally told DOE for the last 20 to 30 years that complete cleanup is the only thing that needs to be done. They could have saved a lot of money if they would have listened to me then. So thank you. And we will go on to the consent agenda. does anyone have things they would like to pull off of the consent agenda? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Upon reviewing the consent agenda, I had a few concerns and things that I wanted to bring up. So honestly, just to not leave anybody feeling like they're missing out, I actually wanted to pull everything from the consent agenda, but I could be convinced otherwise if there were a few concerns on everything. So
Okay, I have no problem with that. Does
I'll
anybody?
try to be quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so
doesn't happen all-
we are going to go through the consent agenda one by one. Do I need a motion to do that, or can I just start? I'm talking to you.
Yes, Madam Chair, you could go ahead and just proceed through the action items, or actually, if you would move these from the consent agenda over to the miscellaneous, and then I think that would work.
Okay, so can I
So-
have?
So moved.
Okay, so I have a
And I'll
motion
second
to
it, so there you
remove
go.
these to the miscellaneous item, and I have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton, a second from Commissioner Green. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we will start with a consent agenda resolution requesting a budget increase to the Fire Protection Fund. This is item A. Yvonne Herrera and Public Safety Department Chief Jacob Black. Okay. Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if a presentation is necessary, but I do want to ask a few questions based on what was presented. And if I may, there's a potential, because item A and item B are somewhat related, if it's okay with the board to group those together, because they seem to be very similar questions.
That's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So part of this has to do with some of the language that was brought up there. This was mentioned as a discrepancy. Is that actually more accurately listed as a shortfall, or is the discrepancy in the imbalance between this, is it called a discrepancy just because it's making it up from a state fund to, how is that classified?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, maybe discrepancy is a strong word and not the right word. What some of the departments do with their grants is they estimate what their grant award will be, and then when we actually get that grant award, we actually true up the budget to match whatever that award was. So in this case, fire department estimated what their distribution might be for both Fund 209, the Fire Protection Fund, as well as the Emergency Medical Services Fund 206. And then about this time of every year, we actually then bring it bar to the board to make those adjustments. Some districts will have to increase their budget. Others will actually have to decrease because we overestimated.
And in this case, it was mentioned as that it was a decrease in budget. So is it actually less money that was given to us by the state, and then we reduced accordingly, or?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, so for the Fire Protection Fund, it was a net increase, I believe, for the annual appropriation. And then for the Emergency Medical Services, that was actually a net decrease. So a combination of every single adjustment resulted in one being increased and one being decreased. But each of the districts were adjusted accordingly. So I don't know, I'm sorry, Chief Black. I'm not sure how the estimate is done and why not everybody's increased versus decreased. I think it's just a matter of doing their best based upon information that they have from past distributions as to what they think might be received in the following year.
Thank you. And last, is there a reason that the La Cienega fire station was left out, or was that just, there was no need to fill that?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Commissioner Green. So how we are moving forward, or how we budget, is we budget for the upcoming fiscal year based off of what we were distributed from either the State Fire Marshal's Office or the New Mexico EMS Bureau for our fire funds as well as our EMS funds. And so we went through and we corrected what we were receiving, and we budgeted for, we anticipated for FY24 what we received during FY23. And then therefore that is where the budget adjustments that Director Herrera was just referring to. When it came to the adjustment for the La Cienega station, that was to bring in alignment with what we were actually receiving from the State Fire Marshal's office.
And so the state did not give the La Cienega any money in this case?
Correct, Madam Chair, Commissioner Green. We were funded for the Rancho Viejo station on that 37 Rancho Viejo Boulevard, and then also the substation, which is down in the La Cienega Valley.
Okay, wonderful. If there are no other questions, I'm happy to move.
Yeah, would you like to move to approve item A and B?
I will move to approve items A and B of the now miscellaneous agenda items.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve items A and B of the consent agenda. I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. The ayes have it. May I please have a resolution number?
Of course, Madam Chair. Item 4A is resolution number 2023-108, and 4B is resolution number 2023-109.
Okay. Next, we will go to item C, request approval of amendment number 1 to agreement number 2022-0287-CORR/KE between Santa Fe County and Mira Consulting, Inc., Purchase Division Bill Taylor, and Public Safety Department Derek Williams. I don't see either one of those two people here. Let's see, maybe Yvonne can answer these questions. It
Madam
looks like
Chair
she's
and
ready.
Commissioners, I believe that Warden Williams is online, so should be available to answer any substantive questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about the levels of service that we're performing for this money here. What are we providing annual checkups in the dental services? Are there cleanings? What kind of service are we doing? Does everybody do detainees get automatic checkups like a health check? Is this comprehensive part of this, or is it only emergency services that are handled in this?
Warden Williams, are you online?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, Commission. Yes, so they provide up to 20 hours a week, primarily restorative and emergency-based dental needs, but they also perform exams and necessary extractions.
Thank you. And do we have, like, maybe it's not for now, but maybe in future years, some sort of data about how many touch times we actually, how many extractions, how many sort of patients are dealt with in a sort of way that we could compare the rates that way? But I just wanted to ask that question. So.
Okay, would you like to make a motion? Oh, go ahead, Warden Williams.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't have that specific data, Commissioner. I can just tell you we use up to 20 hours a week. That's been about the amount of time that we've identified necessary. If you need more specific data than that, I can certainly get that for you. Just give me a little bit of time to collect it.
No problem. Thank you very much, Warden. Thank you, and thank you for providing this service. We need to keep our detainees properly cared for. With that, I'll make a motion to approve item 4C, the request for approval to amendment number 1 to the agreement number 2022-0287 for the dental services at the adult detention facility.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Green, a second by Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to item D, request approval of amendment number 1 to, request approval of a construction contract number 2023-0020 PW between Santa Fe County and Contreras Construction Corporation for construction services at the Madrid Fire Station expansion in the amount of $1,100,822. Hi, welcome, Kurt.
Hello.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Most of the corrections were already made in between yesterday and today. The memo had a couple typos, as it may be, and a previous commissioner listed on there. I do want to give you credit for putting a liquidated damages and a completion date in this. I think that's a very important part of our contracting process. And then it's not in here, but I'm okay with it at this point. But in the future, if it is possible to put at least a site plan and a scope of work in a visual sense into these packets so that we could review it and make sure that we know at least a basic set of drawings that are there that are being worked with, not just a number of how much money is being spent. I'd appreciate that. But with that, I will make a motion to approve item D, 4D, the request for approval of construction contract number 2023-002-PW/APS for the Madrid Fire Station.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we'll go on to item E, request to purchase 2 Kenworth dump trucks with attachment utilizing an existing contract with the Cooperative Education Service Agreement, number 2020-31B-C11C-ALL, for a total of $707,685. Welcome, Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Brian, for coming to discuss this for a moment. My question has to do with how are we deciding on a 10% contingency? Have we received a new pricing list on these pieces of equipment, or is this just an arbitrary number for a year later's, the next year's pricing?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, we've used 10% in recent years, just tracking the price increases, and we found that to be adequate. So in some ways it's arbitrary, but in other ways it's not specific to tandems. We'll see that in a lot of our equipment purchases. We have sometimes we'll put 5% if it makes sense to, but 10% is with these vehicles, not only the vehicles, but then the salt spreader and then the plow. So there's multiple parts and components, so 10% should be adequate. Also with the delay in purchasing, sometimes it'll take like a year to get the equipment. We'll lock in on a price, but then in order to get delivery, there's an upcharge, and that's where the contingency covers it.
And when you lock in on a price, you're not really locking in on a price. You're sort of, that's it.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, I misspoke. We lock in on ordering it, and then we're at the mercy of what the price is when it's delivery.
Okay, and this doesn't telegraph our ability to spend 10% more and make them raise their prices accordingly?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, we don't disclose to the Kenworth, in this case, that we have a 10% contingency. This is for your approval.
Oh, it's public knowledge at this point, but okay, I understand. I just wanted to be clear. It just seemed like this was in a no-bid sort of situation, that we should be holding ourselves to the previous price, and that if anything else came at a higher price, that it would then ask for an adjustment in the future. But if we authorized you for the same price, in that it would seem like you might have some negotiating power on our behalf. But
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, our thought was a little bit counter to what you just expressed. What we found is when the equipment becomes available for delivery, if we don't take delivery within a certain period of time, which we wouldn't have adequate time to come back to the board to seek additional funding, as well as we don't necessarily know if that money is in the budget still, because it may have been expended somewhere else because we expected it to be a lower price, that equipment could be sold to somebody else. Because we have like a certain amount of time to pick that piece of equipment up.
Okay, I understand. It just seemed a little backwards when we were having a no-bid contract. So with that, I'm happy to move ahead. If anybody else has any other questions, I don't think. No, ma'am. So thank you. So I move to approve item 4E for the purchase of 2 Kenworth dump trucks.
Second.
Although I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next is approval of amendment number 6 to agreement between Santa Fe County and Santa Fe Public Schools for substance use prevention program service, extending the term of agreement to December 8th, 2024, and increasing compensation additional $80,000 for a total sum of $420,000. I know you're not Chantel Diego, and I know you're not Bill Taylor, so you might.
Are you sure? It's Halloween.
I know it is Halloween.
I can't pull off that look, but
Please
Chanel
talk it.
Delgado, I apologize. My name's Leanne Rodriguez, and I'm the DWI Program Manager.
Welcome.
And Chanel Delgado, thank you very much. Chanel Delgado is out of the office today.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for being here. Just some data points. Do we know how many students are we reaching and some of that data, as well as is there empirical data that you're deriving from the school district talking about drug use and whether you're having an impact? And the last question is generally, how are we judging the effectiveness of this?
Yes, so we've received quarterly reports from the Santa Fe Public Schools in regards to their funding, and at the end of the fourth quarter and the end of the school year, they had served 2,408 students, primarily in 4th and 5th grade through social emotional learning curriculum. And they were in 130 classrooms. They also serve middle and high school students through their Wellness Ambassador to Voice Empowerment Program, which is also called WAVE. So they do reach a substantial amount of our youth through the public school system, where our prevention program isn't able to have our own prevention specialists in those classrooms, since our prevention specialists focus primarily on the rural areas of the county, and then we fund Santa Fe Public Schools to provide that same prevention curriculum to their students.
Great, thank you. And any data about behavioral statistics? Do we track that either with youth arrests or confiscations on campus or things like that might tell us whether we're having an impact or they're having an impact?
So we do get data through our teen court program, where we do receive referrals through the Santa Fe Public Schools for any code of conduct violations. So we are able to track that data through the teen court program on the types of violations that they're seeing through the school. And we have actually seen with our prevention programming and restorative justice programming that a lot of those code of conduct violations have gone down in our middle school students right now for the beginning of this school year.
Nice.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I also wanted to add to that. We track data for youth substance use through what's called the YRRS, which is the Youth Risk and Resiliency Survey in Santa Fe County. The most recent data, which actually may be a little bit misleading, did show a significant reduction in substance use. That's contrary to other data. And it did show a reduction in substance use, but a significant increase in mental health issues. So I just wanted to follow up. We do keep an eye on the data in terms of the impact that we're making.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions? I will make a motion. So thank you very much. I will make a motion to approve item 4F, the approval of amendment number 6 to agreement number 2021-0010 CSD between the Santa Fe County and Santa Fe Public Schools for substance use prevention program services.
Thank you.
Second.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Rachel, and tell me your name once again. I'm sorry.
Leanne Rodriguez.
Leanne?
Yes, ma'am.
Leanne, welcome to Santa Fe County.
Thank you.
I think you are new.
No, I've been with the county for quite some time, but new in this position.
New in this position. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'm not completely off.
No.
Okay, so thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for a good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to item G, which is request approval to utilize the statewide price agreement with facility-built construction services for ADA upgrade. Commissioner Green, and welcome, Kurt.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you again for this. Thank you, Madam Chair. Our question is, where are these funds coming from? Is this part of bond funding or ICIP? Where did the funding come for this project?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, a lot of this money came from 88 bond funds that we had available. We've had to move some other money into this account because of all the requirements that we had at that location. It was quite a bit substantial more than our other locations to bring it up to ADA, compliance. And, a lot of it is with the concrete, and that has gotten so high now with the basketball court over there that has to have the ADA accessibility and the interior of the building. So that basically what we're doing to that whole building is just making it completely ADA compliant.
That's great. And is the building going to be able to be used while this construction is happening?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, some of the building will be able to be used, like the kitchen. We're not going to affect the kitchen if they want to go, and they have been cooking meals there for the Meals on Wheels delivery. So we will section that off where they will not be involved with any of the work that's going on in the main part of the building. Of course, on the outside, some of the parking area, that's going to be disturbed when they put in the concrete walkways and stuff, but we're trying to minimize what's going to happen there. The bathrooms are the big area where most of the ADA concern is, that they're going to be tearing out quite a bit of work there. So the restrooms will be non-usable for several months.
How long do you think this project's going to take?
The overall project is what we're looking at is 6 months.
Because the El Rancho Senior Center has been for a variety of reasons shut down, either because of staffing or because of water quality issues, and now this. The folks in that neighborhood definitely need to be made aware of this and somehow, if not compensated, but accommodated, let's say. Right. And I hope that we can find a way to either shuttle them to another senior center or give them whatever is necessary, that we do some outreach before we shut this down. And they've been jerked around a lot recently, and I hear it a lot, actually. So they may love these improvements, but they're going to be down for the count for 6 months, and that's probably not going to make them happy. But thank you. Any questions? I'll make a motion if... Okay, so thank you very so I will make a motion to approve item 4G, which is the request for approval to utilize a statewide price agreement with facility build contractors and construction services for ADA upgrades at the El Rancho Community Center.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hughes under discussion. A number of years ago, Commissioner Hamilton and I, previous board, allocated and approved an ADA plan for many of our senior centers and other facilities throughout the county. And it's really important that we get compliant in that regard. And yes, we recognize that it takes time, but at the same time, this is a federal requirement that the county needs to fulfill, and that is what we are doing. And so I just wanted to make that comment under matters discussion.
Fully supportive. Just wish it had been at the same time we were fixing the water problem or when we didn't have staff, but yes.
We all wish for that.
Yeah, well.
So with that, I have the motion from Commissioner Green and second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next. Next, we will go on to H, which is approval to utilize a statewide price contract with Bohan and Houston to provide design services for wastewater infrastructure within the historic village of Agua Fria in the amount of $336,046, exclusive of GRT, and delegate authority to the county manager to negotiate and sign all necessary or proper agreements, amendments, and purchase order. Paul Choman, welcome. Commissioner Green, I have some questions also on this, but go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Paul, for being here for this. My first one really had, so two questions, and they're both related to item H and I, so we could put those together, but there's a few more questions, I think, with item I at the end of the day. One, I really appreciate the fact that a map was provided now so that we can see where these lines are connected. I have had a question answered, which was that we do have authority to have these new lines tapped into the city's wastewater treatment facility, but I wonder if the city's wastewater treatment facility, despite having an approval, has the capacity to take on these lines, because this could be hundreds of homes going into a system that is already overburdened and at end of life. So I think I would like to hear your recommendation about the ability to tap in.
Sure. Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, yes, we have ongoing conversations with the powers that be at the city utility department. The last I heard is that they are in compliance via a combination of chemical and ultraviolet scrubbing at the very end of the waste stream from their existing facility, and this would not provide an undue burden to them at this time.
Wonderful. And then in the process of doing this, was a PER done?
Yes.
Yes, so this was done way back in the olden days?
Yeah,
We did a
It was
PER?
done in 2017.
Wow,
Pre-COVID, yeah,
okay.
pre-COVID, olden days, yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful. And then I think, yeah, that's pretty much it for item H. And then item I, I'll have a question that I think the chair probably has the same question.
So one of my questions is, I know before, when we have done these 4 streets, I thought that we already had an agreement with Santa Fe Engineering and that they had done this design work. And is that, am I misunderstanding something?
Madam Chair,
Because if I am, I thought we had paid them to do this.
Madam Chair, the original design work with Santa Fe Engineering was to scope the project, to define the 40 or so odd streets / projects, as they referred to it, that would cover 98% of Agua Fria Village. And they prioritized those 40 or so projects.
And then who did the first 4 streets?
BHI did the design work for that, for original 8 streets.
BHI did the
Yeah,
original.
I'm sorry, Bohannon Houston, yes, the name of the contractor.
Okay. And so we're paying them an additional money to redesign these streets they already did?
Not to redesign. Part of it is to redefine the final 4 streets in this package, as well as the construction observation. In these situations, construction observation consumes a majority of the cost, and of that total there of $336,046.60, a vast majority of that is for construction observation, which we're looking to hire them to do.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Can I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve item 4H, request for approval to utilize an existing cooperative contract for job order contract project delivery method for the construction of wastewater infrastructure within the historic village of Agua Fria.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Green. I have a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next. I, request approval to utilize an existing cooperative agreement for job order contract project delivery for the construction of wastewater infrastructure within the historic village of Agua Fria.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I think the question has to do is there a financial number attached to this? The previous item H, had a $336,000 price tag, but this one does not seem to have a price tag attached to it.
There's a dollar amount estimate of about approximately $2 million for these Fourth Streets construction. No actual construction estimate has been given at this time.
And Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, I apologize that wasn't called out specifically in the caption item for the agenda. It is listed in board docs, both the dollar amount and the fact that it is budgeted, as well as the source of all the appropriations are included in those details. But I do apologize on behalf of staff that the amount wasn't called out specifically in the caption, but the information is available on board docs.
Okay, thank you. I did not see that. So, wonderful. Madam Chair, did you have a...
So, when do you think that you'll be able to have this contract signed?
Prior to the end of the year, we're looking to do this immediately to encumber these funds.
Okay, so that's really important that we encumber these funds as soon as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that is all I have. So, can I have a motion to approve?
Yes, ma'am. I make a motion to approve item 4I, request for approval to utilize an existing cooperative contract for a job order contract project delivery method for the construction of wastewater infrastructure within the historic village of Agua Fria.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Going on to, thank you, Paul, very much. Request approval of agreement number 2024-1-0114-FI/BT with Bank of Oklahoma Financial to provide register and payment agent services for each series of Santa Fe County's outstanding bonds. Yvonne, welcome.
Madam Chair, I will just keep this very short, and just in a matter of transparency, I do have a mortgage made by the Bank of Albuquerque and the Bank of Oklahoma, and I thought I would declare that here in front of everybody. It is non-callable, and it has they have no ability to twist my arm in any way, at least not that I know of.
Okay.
And with that, I will make a motion to approve item 4J, request to approval for agreement number 2024-0114 with the Bank of Albuquerque Financial North America to provide registrar and paying agent services for each of the series of the Santa Fe County's outstanding bonds.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll move on to appointments and reappointments. Request appointment of members to the Transportation Advisory Committee, Growth Management Department. Mike. Hi, Mike. You want to tell me how to say your last name? Galizio. Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Mike Galizio. Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Mike Galizio. I'm a senior planner with the Planning Division of the Growth Management Department. I'll be covering item 5A today on behalf of Brett Clavio, who's currently on a well-deserved vacation. I'm going to go ahead and present the info from the staff report in reverse order. So if I can direct your attention to the summary table, which is Exhibit C of the staff memo, it kind of looks like this. And today's action, again, is appointments to the Transportation Advisory Committee, or what we call the TAC. And it basically involves two groups. The first group is proposed reappointments of 4 existing TAC members, and those members are Gillis Lang of District 1, Bill Miller of District 4, Daniel Painter of District 5, and John Nitzel, who lives in District 5 and is currently serving as an at-large member. The second group is the proposed appointments of 4 new TAC members, and those members are Ruben Sandaniel with District 3, Phil Rowe of District 5, Jim Murphy, who lives in District 1 but would serve as an at-large member, and finally Jack Sullivan, who lives in District 5 and would also serve as an at-large member. As you can see from the table, there's 13 members on the Transportation Advisory Committee. Historically, we've had problems filling all of these positions. So when 5 of the positions were expiring, we were really pleased that 4 of the members, including our current TAC chair, John Nitzel, agreed to continue to serve. And so their resumes are included in Exhibit B of your staff memo. In regard to the new members, we did post recruitment ads in the Santa Fe New Mexican and the Albuquerque Journal newspapers. And we only received 4 responses from 4 candidates, but these candidates are really exceptional candidates. Mr. Cedeno previously served on the county's Open Lands and Trails and Parks Advisory Committee for 2 terms. He's also a member of the Santa Fe SOBs, which stands for Seniors on Bikes. Mr. Rowe has a dual master's degree in planning and transportation, and he previously worked in the airline and freight traffic industry. Mr. Murphy served in the telecommunications industry for 40 years, and he served as a city councilor in the state of Minnesota, where he worked with the Department of Transportation on major highway and railroad projects. And finally, Mr. Jack Sullivan, who some of you may know, was a 2-term county commissioner, I believe from 2001 to 2008, and his background is a city civil engineer. So their credentials are very impressive. With these appointments, 12 of the 13 TAC positions will be filled, and this will allow us to appoint additional members to our new Transportation Safety Subcommittee that was created just 2 months ago. There is currently 1 vacancy left in District 4, and we're still posting that on our website, and our plan is to reach out to some of the community organizations to gauge any interest. And that way, our goal is to get 13 out of the 13 positions filled. So that concludes my presentation. Mr. Murphy was here, but unfortunately he had to leave because he parked outside and he had to move his car, but I can now answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike, for a good presentation. Are there any questions? I'll go to Commissioner Green, Commissioner Hughes, in that order.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I do agree that this is a very qualified committee. I love seeing a lot of familiar names that I know are engineers or interested in transportation, even somebody that is an expert in electric vehicles, and so that's wonderful. I just ask if this 1 vacant spot, I do notice that there's only 1 woman on 13 spots. I would request that you try hard to recruit among a female candidate for there so that we have a little bit more balance on this commission.
You can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment that I'm really glad we're filling these positions. I attended the last meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I was very impressed with the quality of the discussion and the expertise of the people there who know a lot more about transportation than I do. We're lucky to have, such a good group. And I'm sorry it's hard to recruit people for this job. It sounds boring, but it's very important. So I'm glad we got some good people. And it's interesting that Jack Sullivan, who used to be the commissioner from District 5, is now wanting to be on the Transportation Advisory Committee, but perhaps not too surprising because they're building roads all around his house out there, so near the community college district. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say at this point, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Hamilton.
I just wanted to know, did you interview everybody, even though you didn't have more people than you had positions, but...
Yeah, that's correct. We only got 4 responses, and what we typically do is when we receive a letter of interest with their resume, we'll forward that to the community liaisons with each district office and get their kind of buy-in to go ahead and have one-on-one interviews. And that way we can learn more about their background, and then we can also let them know what the roles and responsibilities and the time commitment's going to be, because this group will meet quarterly, and if they're on the safety committee, they'll also have quarterly meetings. And so luckily a lot of these members are retirees, and so but they want to stay involved in their community. Right. So we have some very committed members of who want to be involved.
Yeah, no, that last part is a good thing, but you have no concerns about balance and people working together and the level of cooperation to be able to move things forward, that sort of thing.
Yeah, one thing we noticed is each of the new members had a very diverse background. One person had a freight background, one had a civil engineering background, one was elected official, and so they're bringing a lot of diversity to a group that we feel is already diverse.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I will make a motion to approve item 5A, request for appointment of the members of the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hughes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Next is request appointment of members to the Santa Fe County DWI Planning Council. Hi, Leanne. Welcome back.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Leanne Rodriguez, and I am the DWI Program Manager. I came into this position April of this year, and I stand before you to request the appointment of 9 members to the DWI Planning Council. At the time that I assumed my position as the DWI Program Manager, we had 6 active members, although resolution calls that we can have a council of 9 members. Those 6 members were all coming up for expiration in July, and we did put out a media release through Santa Fe County, and we received 12 applicants. 3 were from current members seeking reappointment, and the rest were from Santa Fe County community members. Of those members, I am requesting reappointment of Kathy Armijo Itri, who is the Vice President of Missions for Christus St. Vincent's Regional Hospital. Esteban Trujillo, he is also seeking reappointment, and he is the NMDOT Ignition Interlock Program Manager. Reappointment for Omar Vega, who is the Clinical Director of Team Builders. Appointment for Mr. Brett Barnes, the New Mexico Traffic Safety Resource Prosecutor and Assistant Attorney. Jonathan Fernandez, the Traffic Safety Division DWI School and Pedestrian Program Manager. Katrina Latka, MAD State Executive Director. Jeffrey Lossing, a retired community member of Santa Fe County who has a professional background in law enforcement. Mario Salvidres, Santa Fe Public Schools Executive Director of Safety and Security. And Richard Yost, a retired Santa Fe County community member with a professional background in substance use prevention and research. We're very excited with the response that we had to our request for applicants. This will be the first time that we do have a full board or a full council.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the appointment of these members to the Santa Fe County DWI Planning Council.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Hughes and a second from Commissioner Bustamante to accept the recommendations from Ms. Rodriguez. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next, we'll go on to miscellaneous action items. A, request approval on agreement number 2022 with U.S. Bank to provide all banking activities for Santa Fe County. It looks like we have Yvonne here. And
Madam
do
Chair,
we
if I can just
have-
sit down for a second and then
Do
go
we
over the
have,
presentation.
do we have Treasurer Manzanares online? I don't see her in the audience, so, okay, it's up to you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, the item before you is for approval of the bank contract. In March of '22, the County Finance Division and County Treasurer's Office issued a competitive sealed proposal, or RFP, for banking services from qualified banking institutions. Proposals were received from Enterprise Bank, New Mexico Bank and Trust, Sunflower Bank, and U.S. Bank. When the RFP and evaluation criteria were drafted, the focus was on 5 major goals. The first goal, the safety and liquidity of county funds, which basically is a financial institution that has the ability to properly collateralize deposits in excess of depository insurance coverage and in compliance with state statute, as well as to be a financially sound institution. Second goal, maximum potential for interest earnings on operational funds, self-explanatory. We want to earn as much as we can from the balances that we hold within that bank. Third goal, efficient utilization of available banking services. All required services needed by the County Treasurer and the Finance Division to perform their respective duties, ensuring vendors and employees are paid and deposits are processed efficiently and securely. The fourth goal, the responsiveness and ability to provide high-quality banking services. We want to be treated as if we are their only customer, while knowing that we are not. This includes the plethora of services the financial institution is able to provide, the uniqueness of the service, and having the ability to provide timely solutions to the county's operational needs. And finally, the fifth goal, minimize the banking costs for the county. Again, self-explanatory. We want the most services for the cheapest prices, but keeping in mind the quality of service, not just the quantity. These goals led to the evaluation criteria used by the evaluation committee in reviewing the 4 proposals. The evaluation criteria focused on finding a financial institution that was going to be able to provide most, if not all, of the services the county required on a day-to-day basis, which, when broken down, really starts with the basic needs of processing deposits and withdrawals that ultimately ends up being presented in the county's financial statements, which are relied upon by the public. Having a partner providing reliable and uninterrupted banking services for processing daily cash transactions ensures the county has a solid foundation within its reporting activities performed for oversight entities such as the commissioners, DFA, bond raters, and constituents. Simplifying the above, essentially the county needs a quality, stable, and secure financial institution to help process cash transactions, which the evaluation committee ranked and scored U.S. Bank as the highest and most qualified proposal received, and recommends that the contract be awarded to U.S. Bank. And with that, Madam Chair, I sit for any questions.
Okay. Questions from the board? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Yvonne. I'm wondering, I see 3, none of them are really local banks, but they are definitely ones that invest. I know people who have commercial loans and investments packages and their branches all over with 3 of these, but then I see that U.S. Bank is the most national of these, and from my experience, they seem to be the least invested in our community. Was there any consideration given to the amount of commercial activity that these banks reinvest in our community?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, unfortunately, that was not part of the evaluation criteria. What we focused on was really the operational needs. We need to be able to issue payments, and we need to be able to deposit funds within a central account that can hold all the various accounts that the county has, along with just the basic needs. Again, you know, the making sure that they're collateralized, that we can earn some money for providing additional services to the county or to support current services, as well as paying the least amount. It truly was just operational. We didn't focus on anything but making sure that the county can operate.
And were all these banks almost equal, or were 3 of them significantly deficient and that one just rose above the rest?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, I don't exactly recall how they were all ranked, but the same evaluation was obviously used for each proposal. The committee met, discussed their viewpoints, what they saw as strengths, weaknesses, different services, which banking services are banking services in all reality, right? If they can accept checks and redeem them, if they can accept deposits, there's not really much different. But the proposal from U.S. Bank was just of a higher quality than the other 3, and the scoring was very evident that that's why we chose U.S. Bank.
Okay. I wish we could cultivate some of our local banks, because if we're throwing essentially $25 million into their bank accounts for continuing, you know, cash flow purposes, it'd be great to see that some of that was reinvested in our community and scored accordingly. But thank you.
So in the future, as you sit on the investment committee, you will understand probably some of these reasons a lot more than was explained right now. But I will also go to Commissioner Hamilton, who has sat on the investment committee for a number of years.
I was actually going to sort of say, and maybe ask Yvonne to mention some of, over the years of being on the investment committee, we did have emphasis on using the local banks, but there were times when we had difficulties with getting certain services, getting responses from the bank, getting certain support, the ability to set certain kinds of things up. I don't think I'm misspeaking, and there were several others, and so it actually took us to the point of wanting to reevaluate what bank we used, and so you still then. Some of those banks, you know, responded again, and you look at the proposal, and you might not see all of those things, but you know that I think might fall under sort of the analogy of also asking for references and comparing that. So I don't know if you might comment that some of that was a consideration, or certainly it was known to you and the Treasurer's Office as well as the Investment Committee. So.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Commissioner Hamilton's correct. I think one of the biggest obstacles that most local banks will face when it comes to the dollar amount that the county holds in cash, just in cash, not in investments, is the ability to hold that money as well as collateralize it. That limits many of the local banks, and as we all know, we truly. I don't actually know how many local banks we actually have. Most of them have become regional. Most of them have been absorbed by other banks. Even though they may still have the original local bank name, they're not actually truly local. The other component, so during the evaluation process, any information that any of us may know about our relationship, either with if our current contractor submitted a proposal, we'll discuss the proposal, but also actually talk about some of the issues or some of the pros that our relationship has at that point in time. So all factors are included, even though it may seem that the current contractor may have an advantage. It's not necessarily the case. If they're not a quality contractor, if they don't provide quality services. And again, I mentioned that I want us to feel like we're their only customer, and I'm well aware that that's not the case, but the quality of customer service is a big deal. If we have an issue, we want to be able to work with a bank immediately to try to resolve that issue. If we need services, we want somebody to come in and provide potential solutions to that specific challenge that we may face. But when looking at the proposals, I will say that it was very clear. As I mentioned, U.S. Bank had a really good proposal, was ranked high. Other proposals were unfortunately they didn't do themselves justice by the way that they provided their proposal, which then leads you to think, well, if they can't take the effort and time to make a quality proposal, then what are they going to do for services for us? So all of that, there's all kinds of that's what I look for. I don't know what the other committees considered when they were by themselves looking at it. It's a really big picture. It's challenging, to try to be objective, but also try to be honest. Say, I don't like the way this bank does this. I don't like the way they communicate. I don't like the way that they provide customer service, or so and so, or this county said this. We'll talk to references, ask questions. We try to get as much information as we can in order to make the best decision for the services, again, for the county to be able to function, make payments, collect money, and build upon that relationship, so that if there's any issues, we can get them resolved. If there's any new services, we can get on board. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. We have the ability to be able to work with this existing contractor. If things aren't going well, if we don't like them, if they're just horrible, we have the ability to go back out to RFP again and select somebody else. So it's also a challenge for them to be able to prove to us why we should keep working with them. And again, that was very evident within the U.S. Bank proposal.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I would also add to the discussion that this was very much focused on treasury management services. This is the nuts and bolts of our financial system, ensuring that we're able to function properly, that we're partnering with an entity that has the scale to continuously improve their service offerings and their technology. I would respectfully submit that if we were going to look at potential using county funds as a means to spur investment in the local community, you do that on the investment policy side, not on the services that we need to function. So in other words, you could look at how much money we invest in bonds issued by federally sponsored agencies versus in local banks. And that way you're doing an apples to apples comparison, and it's very transparent what you're giving up, which would be the interest rate spread between what you are getting by depositing the money locally versus other investment opportunities. But I would submit that that would be the place to explore those concepts rather than trying to handicap, if you will, the services we're receiving against that idea of investment in the community. So I'd offer that for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Yvonne, for your analysis, because I think that is really important. And Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you. Manager Schaefer said most of what I was going to say, so I'll just add that I have had some discussions with the treasurer about investing more of our money locally, and I think she's come up with some promising ideas that we'll be discussing at the investment committee. And as we all know, there's a lot more money in that pot than in the pot that's going into U.S. Bank. And I do also appreciate that when we do an RFP, if somebody comes out on top, then we usually award it to the person who came out on top. And if U.S. Bank's going to provide us the best service, then that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. So can I please have a is there anybody else who wants to make any comments?
No, but I'll make the motion. A motion to approve miscellaneous action item number 6A, request for approval of agreement number 2022-0181 TR with U.S. Bank to provide all banking activities for Santa Fe County.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Green, a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Under discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item B, have I missed a resolution number or something like that? No, okay. B, C, and D are going to be, they've been withdrawn.
Those are withdrawn for a future meeting. That's correct, Madam Chair.
They are withdrawn until a meeting in November after the strategic planning. And I know that I have worked on the priorities for sustainability and climate action, and I want to thank Jacqueline Beam for all her hard work on that. Thank you. So then we will go on. Item E has been withdrawn. We'll go to item F, consideration and potential action on Department of Finance Administration grant for $100,000 for the Department of Energy Collaboration Center in the county. County Manager's Office, Greg Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This concerns a appropriation made during the 2023 regular session in the so-called junior bill for $100,000 for the Department of Energy Collaboration Center in Santa Fe County. This appropriation was to the local government division of the Department of Finance and Administration. The county received a proposed grant agreement for that appropriation. While it's in my signature authority, I wanted to bring it to the Board of County Commissioners for your information and for direction as to how to proceed. The idea of a collaboration center was brought to the board in February via resolution, which was not adopted. Separately, as part of the strategic planning process, Commissioner Green has submitted a scoping sheet concerning the Department of Energy Collaboration Center for the planning and feasibility stage. Given all that, in that it was not an appropriation that the board as a body pursued, and the fact that the initiative will be evaluated as part of the ongoing strategic planning process, my recommendation is that we not accept the grant agreement at this time, but instead allow for the strategic planning process to play out. And if the Department of Energy Collaboration Center is adopted as a strategy, then I'll proceed to accept the grant agreement. And if it's not, we'll act accordingly. But again, I felt constrained to bring it forward so that you were aware of it as a body in terms of the fact that the appropriation was made and offered to the county via grant agreement. And again, our only recommendation at this point is that we defer acceptance until the strategic planning process has run its course and the board decides as a body whether or not this is a strategy that it wants to pursue. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you. And as you probably know, I support this idea of the collaboration center. I also have a motion prepared that embodies what Manager Schaefer just presented to us, but I think there might be more discussion before we get there. I'm perfectly fine with putting it off until we decide if it's really a strategy that all five of us want to pursue.
Any other comments? Commissioner Hamilton?
I think that would be fair. I think it makes sense to let it develop as part of the strategic planning.
Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Commissioners. Yes, I have created a scoping sheet, and we will be talking about it on Monday, hopefully with lots of, or at least sufficient time to go over the progress and all of the folks that have been communicated with, that have shown support towards this effort, many of which are wholeheartedly behind this, and willing to participate, some of which are actually willing to take on the planning that would then funnel the money from us to them. And I will give you all those details on Monday, and we can go from there. I completely understand.
Would it be, I'm sorry.
Yes, go.
Oh, would it, I'm happy if you, that, we had talked about you doing something like that, so I appreciate that you did that. Would it be possible, would you be copacetic with us seeing it before Monday to be able to just look over it and be prepared for Monday?
The scoping sheets, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes, so my understanding is
Or no.
Cindy is going to be distributing scoping sheets on Thursday, or
That's
at least
right, I
the
remember
responses.
Okay.
But I, at this
No,
point.
That's great, that's
yeah,
great.
Yeah,
Thanks for the reminder.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that it will be included in the strategic planning scoping process. And so then we'll all have access to it at the same time. Okay, so.
I'm ready with my motion.
Okay.
So you can tell I didn't write this. Thank you, Manager Schaefer. But I would like to move that contingent upon the Board of County Commissioners adopting the Department of Energy Collaboration Center planning and feasibility stage as a strategy as part of its current strategic planning process, I move to accept the proposed grant agreement for appropriation number 23-ZH9302. For clarity, the county manager will not execute the grant agreement unless and until the Board of County Commissioners adopts the Department of Energy Collaboration Center planning and feasibility stage as a strategy.
Okay, do I have a second?
I would love to see that. That was, yeah, that was a long motion.
Basically, it
second.
says that if we make it a strategy, we don't have to bring it back to the board. He'll just go ahead and sign it.
Okay. I will second that and hope to convince at least 2 others of you, but hopefully all of you on Monday. So yes.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Hughes, a second from Commissioner Green. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now we will move on to item 7, short-term rental presentation and proposed ordinance title change. Welcome Earl and Penny Ellis, Earl Wright, and Penny Ellis Green. Jeff Young is who I see on, and Lucida from Land Use. So we look forward to hearing your report and presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Actually, the report will be delivered by Southwest Planning and Marketing. Ms. Rochelle Howell and also Chris Cordova will be doing the presentation. We'll need to give them access to WebEx. I can run the PowerPoint for them if need be. Do we have the clicker? Sure. Do you have it up? I can share it here.
Commissioner Green?
Just as a bit of transparency, once upon a time I did work for Southwest Planning and Marketing well over 2 decades ago. So.
Okay, good to know.
Moves around.
Okay, any other disclosures from anybody? Okay. How are we doing on the report? Do we have them up on screen? I know Matt is working on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are they? Madam Chair, we'll get Ms. Howell and Mr. Cordova unmuted here and they'll be able to do the presentation for you.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Outstanding.
I can hear both of you, so thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Should I go ahead and just jump right in?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Earl. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. Chair, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, staff, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to present the findings from our recent analysis of the impacts related to short-term rentals in Santa Fe County. As Earl mentioned, I'm Rochelle Howell with Southwest Planning and Marketing, and my colleague, Chris Cordova, is also here. And we're both on video, and we're in two different places, so please bear with us and let us know if we lose any audio or video or anything goes awry. And with that, I'll go ahead and jump right in. So if we could please go to the next slide. Thank you. So I'd like to start here with this quote from W. Edwards Deming. And for those of you who aren't familiar with who he is, he's widely acknowledged as the leading management thinker in the field of quality, really in the last century. And his methods played a crucial role in the recovery of post-World War II Japan. And he is probably best well known for pioneering what we all just call today in the business world, the industry world, and in government as continuous improvement. And as a statistician and a business consultant, as you can see here, he emphasized making decisions based on data and not opinion. And that is the approach that we take with every project. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to jump in and give you a quick overview of our project, what we were tasked with doing. Next slide, please. Okay, so we were tasked to assess the impact of short-term rentals on Santa Fe County. And along with that, we were asked to look at and review and assess the current ordinance. And then based on that, to develop evidence, again, back to data, evidence-based recommendations for possible changes to the ordinance itself, and then processes that the county is undertaking in regulating short-term rentals. And the county asked us to specifically focus on the impact of non-owner occupied short-term rentals, affordable housing, and traditional and historic communities. And for us, overarching objective was to establish, as you can see here, robust, factual, and balanced foundation for the formulation and implementation of regulations and processes for short-term rentals. Next slide, please. So how did we go about it? What was our approach? So we started off by doing a comprehensive review of existing data on short-term rentals, housing market demographics, data and trends, with a focus on the local market. But we also looked at statewide and nationwide trends. As I'm sure you're all familiar with, short-term rentals is both a boon and something that can be difficult to regulate for communities, really globally. We went about our research after we did our initial data collection. The next step we took was to conduct interviews with county staff and officials, community members and leaders, industry professionals, and other stakeholders countywide. We also did 2 surveys. One was a general community survey of Santa Fe County residents. We received over 1,200 responses to that survey to collect community input into the STR issue. And then we also conducted a separate survey with owners and managers of current short-term rentals and applicants for short-term rental permits. And we received over 100 responses to that survey. And between our data collection, our background review, and interviews and our surveying, our goal really was to do as much of a 360 review of the short-term rental issue within Santa Fe County, so that we could provide the county, provide you, the commission, with data needed to make decisions moving forward. So after we collected and did our background kind of data collection, then we performed our analysis of the effects of short-term rentals on the county. And again, we maintained our emphasis on affordable housing, how our short-term rentals impact the affordable housing, traditional historic communities, how are they impacting those. And then we kept sort of a special emphasis on non-owner occupied short-term rentals. And then finally, based on all of our data collection and review and analysis, then we drafted policy and implementation. And I apologize, there's a typo here in the slide. We drafted recommendations based on our data, not regulations. So we drafted policy and implementation recommendations based on our data. And again, as mentioned before, our entire research approach was undergirded by our goal to maintain a balanced, transparent, and equitable process that considered both the well-being of the communities where these short-term rentals exist and individual rights, the individuals that are running short-term rentals and benefiting from them. Next slide, please. And with this, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chris Cordova. He was the lead on this project, and he really did yeoman's effort in collecting all the data and doing most of the analysis. And I just want to commend him for the great work he did on this project. And I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Thank you for that, Rochelle, and good afternoon, commissioners. I'd like to thank you for allowing us to participate in such an important project. Next slide, please. Well, it was quite a project. All communities are struggling to implement balanced regulations. We looked at probably over 100 different communities and cities nationally and locally, if not more. And one of the things in the contract asks for best practices, and there aren't best practices right now because everyone's trying to figure it out. We did find a lot of good information that we feel could be used to benefit, but everyone's trying to make their way through the short-term rental product, and they're all having some of the same issues. Challenging, just particularly to Santa Fe County, is its diverse spectrum. You've got urban and you've got rural communities, and it's very distinguished from large cities and the city of Santa Fe when considering the effects of short-term rentals. So lots of people like to try and compare New York or LA or San Diego or even the city of Santa Fe or tourism destinations to Santa Fe County, but it's a very, very diverse county, as you all know. Everything from Stanley, New Mexico, and Madrid to Santa Fe or Chupadero or La Cienega. Anyway, very, very diverse, which makes it a little more difficult to really meet everyone's needs. The county court enforcement team uses Granicus, and we worked quite a bit with Earl and the Granicus people to really find out what the issues were and with the short-term rentals and how many there were in the county. We specifically looked at non-owner occupied short-term rentals. They pose some compliance and enforcement challenges, including zoning conflicts, noise complaints, tax collection difficulties. There was some complaints of safety and health standards, the inability to monitor, and there was a lot of speculation that they put a strain on local services. So that's some of the things we looked at. Next slide, please. It's pretty hard to pin down how many short-term rentals that the county has permits for. It's a moving target, and on any given day, you have people that want to become short-term rentals, and there's a change in the market. So there's some people that were short-term rentals that are finding out it's not, it's not a road made of gold or might not be for them. So as of October 19th, the county reported 349 short-term rentals. And there's a potential of another 246 unregistered short-term rentals. So our estimate, and the county agrees with this, is there's approximately 600 short-term rentals in unincorporated areas of Santa Fe. The 246 unregistered is the work that Granicus is doing, identifying them, and the enforcement team will be following up with people that haven't registered. But our opinion is there's just under 600 short-term rentals in unincorporated counties, Santa Fe. That equates to about 2 per square mile. One of the things that was interesting in the research that we found is that the short-term rental market nationally, as well as locally, is nearing maturity. What does that mean? There's a lot. Most people that were going to get involved in it are involved in it, or in the city of Santa Fe, it's starting to level off now. And there's been some research we found that there's some people that got into the market and thinking they can pay off houses or do well with it that are actually not doing well financially and having to move some houses. Anyway, the market, in our opinion, is now maturing. So we don't see that there's going to ever be 6,000. Our opinion right now is it's probably going to stay right around 600 short-term rentals, if that many. Next slide. We were very, very pleased with the interviews and the public input. We got a lot of surveys. And of course, so, there were some perceived negative issues with regards to short-term rentals in Santa Fe County. And I use the word perceived because people have an opinion about, what they may or may not do. And some of the perceived negative issues were the effects of unaffordable housing, the problems with taxation and revenue collection, and impacts to traditional and historic communities. And those are valid concerns, and the general public has some concerns about that. But one of the things that we also found in the data collection process is that there were a lot of people that felt like that there were positive impacts from short-term rentals in Santa Fe County. A lot of people said the economic and community benefits were good for rural Santa Fe County, where there's often it's difficult to work. Rental income, gross receipts tax, lodgers tax, the use of vacant properties, which helps keep traditional properties together because they put money into them, has some value, and people said that. We found some residents that may have had to move out of state or don't live in their family homes, and many people in some of the rural communities, that moved out of their family's home and they live next door, or maybe the parents or the grandparents passed away. So it's a way for families to maintain their family properties in small communities and have money to keep them up and make some revenue for them. So there was some of the positive side of it. The one thing that we felt the data and the feedback emphasized was the need for a fair, transparent regulations and implementations that safeguard both the community interest and individual rights. So it's important to mitigate the negative impacts and protect the positive impacts. And so, I didn't have an opinion about this when we started, and through the process, I do believe that with the facts, my opinion changed some, but we do believe it's important to mitigate the negative impacts while still protecting some of the positive impacts. Next slide. There was a big deal about affordable housing and gentrification issues in the county. Oh my gosh, short-term rentals are taking affordable housing. Well, through the research, and I think everyone here knows that there's been affordable housing and gentrification issues probably since 1980, if not before that. I worked for the state from 1990 to 2000, and I couldn't afford a house back then, and I had a pretty mid-level job, But so this isn't a new issue, and short-term rentals, you know, in our opinion, and the data shows that they don't really have a significant negative impact on affordable housing and or traditional or historic communities. We looked at a lot of the numbers, and so if you look at the numbers, short-term rentals make up less than 1% of the county's housing units. And that's not to say that any of those houses meet the affordable index. Now, according to statistics and the definition of affordability is a third, 30% of your income should be able to pay for your rent. And so there's very, very few affordable houses in Santa Fe County. So if you outlawed any non-owner occupied housing, it would have negligible impact on affordable housing because most of those houses are not affordable. So we don't think that's a good fix, but it could also negatively impact some family-owned properties. You take a community like Chupadera, where, you know, there's $1 million estates out there now, and the tax base is pretty tough. So it's harder and harder for local families to live there. But perhaps a non-owner occupied short-term rental that they may have down there may be able to save. So that's what we're talking about in the balance. And so our opinion is that affordable housing is really not a non-issue for short-term rental impact on in Santa Fe County. And they exert negative and positive influence on traditional and historic communities. So what we're looking to do is recommend effective management of non-owner occupied short-term rentals. It's really more about regulating their total number and the density in these communities. Next slide. Next slide. I'd also like to share with the commission that there were two very strong groups on both sides of this issue. And I have numerous emails from both sides supporting short-term rentals, non-owner occupied short-term rentals, and totally against non-owner occupied short-term rentals. But when you look at the overall findings of the survey from the general citizen, we felt there was a real balanced approach to this. And our opinion is that the citizens of the unincorporated parts of Santa Fe County don't really want short-term rentals to go away, but it's just important to control them. So we were asked to make some recommendations. So the first thing we suggested is that for right now, schedule a comprehensive review of the short-term rental ordinance in 5 years. Let's look at this one, revise this ordinance, and then in 5 years, look at it again. This market is very fluid, and it's going to probably be a different market in 5 years. So we suggest put in a 5-year ordinance, and then in 5 years do this again, or you may not have to do anything at all. It may have settled itself down, but that's what we recommend. And then just regular reviews intervals thereafter, which would allow for adjustments based on market changes. We don't know what the market's going to look like in 5 years, but we do feel like it's pretty much matured at this point. Next slide. This was pretty interesting. There was a lot of communities that put the onus of grocery receipts and lodgers tax collections to the state, to short-term rental platforms like Airbnb or VRBO. It would reduce the county's workload and ensure consistent collection. We don't have the legal basis to say whether or how that would happen, but best practices in that is where they put it on the management companies or platforms like Airbnb to make sure that you get your lodger's tax and tax collection. The other thing that some of the bigger communities like New York City, they are now introducing penalties for non-compliant companies. And so enforcement's an issue on some of this. And so there's penalties now for companies like Airbnb if their clients are non-compliant with the local regulations. And that's a big deal. Now, there was a lawsuit in New York City where the Airbnb people were fighting that, but they lost that lawsuit. So you can now penalize non-compliant management companies in New York for not adhering to the rules or the regulations of Airbnb, which we thought was a great recommendation or something to look into. Next slide. Our opinion is that owner-occupied short-term rentals do not impact the unincorporated Santa Fe County, and they have more benefits to local residents than they do any negative impacts. So our recommendation is don't limit the total number of owner-occupied short-term rentals in unincorporated Santa Fe County. Again, I'd like to say that we feel like the market's getting fairly mature now. It's not going to change a whole lot more, particularly with owner-occupied short-term rentals. Now, with regard to non-owner occupied short-term rentals, we recommend limiting the total number of non-owner occupied short-term rentals in unincorporated Santa Fe County. What we want to do is reduce the strain on communities near the city of Santa Fe and protect the traditional and historic areas. Now, it's very difficult in some ways because there's some housing communities that were primarily put together to be vacation rentals, and they need to maintain the things that they were doing. But this is an area where we really need to look with the county staff to really identify those areas that have a problem of being impacted. And of course, the closer to the city of Santa Fe you are, the more that's going to happen, because what basically is happening in Santa Fe is one of the finest international tourism destinations in the world, and so people are always looking for it. So the farther you get away from the city of Santa Fe center, the less you have to worry about non-owner occupied short-term rentals. As an example, I don't think anyone's that concerned if there's going to be 4 non-owner occupied short-term rentals in beautiful downtown Stanley, New Mexico. But within the area, so I think that's something that really needs to be looked at with regard to where you would limit it. County staff should determine a radius around the city and set limits within this and for historical areas. But you got to still recognize the variability. For instance, you take the community of Madrid, and Madrid is a pretty unique destination, but there's not really any hotels around there. So if you limit some of the short-term rentals in Madrid, what you're going to do is hurt the community there, and they would support having non-owner occupied short-term rentals. So you have people in downtown Madrid that might be staying there and spending money. So again, Santa Fe County is very diverse, so it's a mixed bag sort of thing. Just to make things smoother, we recommend at this point grandfathering in the existing short-term rentals that fit the local criterias. I wouldn't go back, and we don't recommend going back and taking somebody out of the program right at this moment, because what's probably going to happen is people are going to fall in and out of the program over the years, and that's the way you can control areas that may be a little bit too dense or something of that nature. And we recommend consider capping the number of non-owner occupied short-term rentals allowed per owner, because what we want to do is make sure you have a way to prevent corporate monopolization of residential areas. Now, I don't really see that happening per se in unincorporated Santa Fe County like it did in Santa Fe, the city of Santa Fe proper, but we feel like that's something that you really should put in there that would protect the citizens of Santa Fe County and maintain the society and cultures of Santa Fe County. So next slide, please. Talk about the density of short-term rental units. For owner-occupied short-term rentals, we don't think it's necessary to limit the density of owner-occupied short-term rentals in unincorporated Santa Fe County for the reasons I talked about earlier. And I did talk about non-owner occupied short-term rentals, limit the density of non-owner occupied short-term rentals in unincorporated Santa Fe County to reduce the strain on communities near the city of Santa Fe, and again, protect the traditional historic areas. And it's really, the staff needs to work by looking at the density that's within the area, you know, you have some communities like, say, Chupadera, that there's a lot of short-term rentals because there's a lot of very, very wealthy people that have second and third homes there, and they're trying to keep them occupied while they're not there. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but it's gonna take some look into to see what the density should be, and there needs to be a way to have some flexibility for communities that it doesn't particularly work for. And I used the example of Madrid as already. So, and you know, save yourself some grief and just grandfather in the existing short-term rentals that fit the criteria. Next slide. You know, one of the big things in the input was that a lot of people were complaining about the process, the registration process and the application process. And what was really, really interesting to me is that people that got into the program early on, like say last March, had lots of complaints. And basically this whole program was turned over to the county employees to take over the process. And I can imagine the first 2 or 3 weeks were heck, and there were a lot of people that weren't pleased with the time frame, and there was a lot of issues to be worked out. But in conversations with the staff, you know, we believe that they've got it worked out, and their programs and their processes are in pretty good shape now. And you can tell that because you can tell that a lot of people that were short-term rental that got into the program later had a lot of good things to say about the staff, that were very efficient, they were very helpful, the process wasn't too bad, you know, and they were very, very appreciative of the staff. So our opinion is that any issues or complaints you had about the process and had to do with when you first started the program, but I think they've got it together now. Let me say, one of the things that we couldn't understand is, and it almost felt punitive, and some of the short-term rental people talked about it, is why there was a requirement for non-owner occupied short-term rentals to have to once a year redo a full application annually. And so we think that you know, there's no reason to onerously impact one group or another, especially if it's the same short-term rental and anything hasn't changed. So we're recommending streamlining that for second year or third year non-owner occupied short-term rentals in the application process. Why have them resubmit all of this paperwork? Of course, if there's, you know, fire, you know, regulations or anything that needs to be reviewed, that's fine. But you know, virtually everybody said, can you make the process a little simpler? And the biggest thing about our balanced approach is that you need to enhance ways for compliance and enforcement. You know, some of the other communities had graduated fines, fees for repeated violations. So say you have somebody that has a party at an Airbnb somewhere and there's complaints in the neighborhood, and, you know, track it, monitor it. And if they do it again, then there's a bigger violation. And then if they do it again, perhaps you take them out of the program. But the issue of enhanced enforcement and compliance is really where you can keep the benefits for all the citizens, but mitigate the negative parts. So it's all about enforcement of the issues. You have good regulations, but it's just a matter of enforcement. So we recommend enhancing compliance and enforcement. And again, I talked about implementing penalties specific to the management companies or the platforms, because it was kind of surprising to me. There's a few management companies that manage a lot of short-term rentals in the unincorporated areas of Santa Fe County. So when Rochelle said we had 100 people that were non-owner occupied, but there was several of them that were managing anywhere from 2 to 10 short-term rentals. It sounds like people have vacation homes and you know, they don't want to mess with it, so they hire a management company. But the management company should be responsible for them too, and that can help with compliance and enforcement. And we're not sure about the legal ramifications of it, but other communities are doing it nationally, and we feel like that should be something you should look at to assist with the compliance and enforcement issue. Next slide. One of the things in the contract that we looked at and were asked to look at specifically by contract were changes to the short-term rental contract. So when we looked at section 4.h, section 1.1 to 1.10, that section was all about just, you know, to be quite frank, short-term rentals are bad and they mess with affordable housing and they do this and it's noisy and it's that. Well, we feel like those things need to be edited to have a little more balance to them, and it probably save you all a lot of more headaches as well, because honestly, in my opinion, if subsections 1.1 to 1.10 were out of there, nothing would change about the ordinance. It's just that part would be out, but it really had nothing but negative impacts of short-term rentals, and it caused you all some problems. Section 3.8 incorporate the more stringent enforcement and penalties we talked about. Section 4 incorporate total number and density limits for non-owner occupied short-term rentals near the city, and we talked about that. I've mentioned that 3 or 4 or 5 times now, but that's the key to making this thing work, is make sure that the traditional historic communities and communities near city of Santa Fe aren't saturated with short-term rentals. Section 5.2.4 is interesting because it defines adjacent neighbors. And what's so unique about that is you might be somewhere where your neighbor is 10 acres away from you or more, or you might be right dead center in the middle of Madrid where your neighbor is 25 feet away from you. And so that's pretty broad when you say define adjacent neighbors. The city of Santa Fe put a 50-foot distance between short-term rentals, and we're not sure we recommend that per se, but that one size fits all define adjacent neighbors really kind of doesn't meet the needs of the ordinance per se. And section 6.3.1 asks for them to write what was the purpose, of the building before you turned it into a short-term rental. What are you using it for? What it's going to be for after? And we felt that was a little bit onerous as well. In talking with the staff, I understand a little more about why they want to know what it was used for before, but I think that section can be eased up on people as well, because it's pretty onerous, right? People have to go back and figure that out. It's a lot of paperwork, and I don't think it really changes anything in the ordinance. And again, we wanted to, in 6.3.5 of the ordinance, incorporate short-term annual renewal process for non-owner occupied short-term rentals. Some of the staff said they were looking at that already, so that would be very helpful from, make it easier on certain people to fill them out, but it would also ease a lot of the animosity some people with non-owners occupied short-term rentals might have, like, well, you're just penalizing us and making us fill out more paperwork just because of that. So it doesn't really do anything, and it would do nothing but help the image of the county and ease everything for everybody filling them out. And again, prohibit events in non-owner occupied short-term rentals with appropriate penalties. Now, Airbnb has a very good community disturbance policy. So we recommend looking at that policy, and there's no reason for that. If people want to have an event or parties, there was one short-term rental that was using it for events and weddings, and that has nothing to do with what this is. And those guys really need to go and apply for event licenses, or this isn't what this is about. So there's no problem with prohibiting events. There's other ways for people to apply to have an event at their property, but short-term rental ordinance isn't the place for it. Next. Oh, this was interesting. Santa Fe the West in general, we're a pretty interesting group of people, the Wild Wild West, we like to call it sometimes. There's, reformed hippies that have yurts, and some people had some pretty nice RV parks that were going as short-term rentals, but the regulation doesn't permit anything. It's because it's a residential resolution. Now, no, we're not recommending that you add those to the ordinance per se, but make sure that that the staff can tell people, oh, you have a yurt, you need to apply over here. There's a different process for camping or something like that to do the same thing. But this ordinance isn't appropriate for it. But it's important to let people know that there are ways to permit alternative accommodations for what would be a short-term rental. So that was an issue that people brought up, is we're a unique state county, and people are putting limits on what we can do. We're something like that. So I just think it's important that people that are coming in, instead of saying no, you can't have a yurt or RV, say more like, well, then you need to go through a different process. It's more of a campsite process or something. There's a process for it, but we don't recommend that it belongs here, but it does need to be explained to people. And thank you. Next slide. So we really feel like this is an iterative process with the staff, and they're going to need some time to really detail the things that we talked about. So we're recommending extending the moratorium for new owner-occupied short-term rentals. Let the staff finalize these for the ordinance, and then you can have a nice organized ordinance that'll meet the citizens' needs of unincorporated Santa Fe County. Next. Rochelle, do you want to add anything to what I said? Oh, you're muted. She's muted. Hello?
There we go. Thank you. I muted myself so that I wouldn't be distracting for Chris, and then I realized I couldn't unmute myself. So thank you. I don't think so. I think you gave a well-rounded summary of our approach and what we found, and really we're Madam Chair and County Commissioner, we are ready to stand for questions if you have any, or if you need any clarification on what we presented to you.
Thank you very much for an informative amount of information. This is one of the reasons that we wrote the ordinance, and we wanted to make sure that we started to get some data and get some information. We knew that when we wrote the resolution, the ordinance, it was not the final, and I think it's really important that I hear from all of the commissioners about how they felt about the report. I feel it was incredibly informative, but I will wait until later to make a number of comments that I have, and I will start with Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for doing all this work. I like the report. I basically like the recommendations. I think they're for the most part, were like pretty well thought out. I have a question about one of them, but it's not about a detail. Actually, the idea of setting a radius from the city, I agree with the concept that you're trying to not do one size fits all, so that more rural areas might not need the same density limits, for instance, of non-owner occupied than closer into the city. I wonder if you, and conceptually, a radius like proximity to the city does make sense conceptually, but I wonder if that would capture it appropriately, or if it has to be sort of a generic radius, but then include some communities. So when there are communities that are developed, if you do a true radius, you may cut a community in pieces. So I just wonder what you think about the radius approach compared to having to define essentially community by community?
I use the term radius in a very broad manner. Many years ago, I was doing economic development work for Santa Clara Pueblo and Espanola, and they were having a hard time getting major retailers in the market because the traditional way to look at it is concentric circles, you know, people within half a mile of a Safeway or a supermarket or a Home Depot, 5 miles, 10 miles, you know, and so consequently, a lot of companies didn't go move into the Espanola Valley because of it. But we live in a community that was, it's the Rio Grande River that decides the radius of, you know, people moved in along the river. And so the river was really the radius of where you know, lots of people live because of the water, starting with the Pueblos. And so we spent a lot of time back then looking at a non-traditional, maybe radius isn't the right word, but a non-traditional way to do that. And I think you're right, spot on. And that's why we just couldn't say, oh, okay, anything within 5 miles of Santa Fe should have X or Y, because you can't do that. So that's why it's going to take some time for the staff to really identify where those issues are. So maybe I need to detract the word radius, and you're totally right, but that's what we meant by it.
Well, that makes sense, and I appreciate the response. I might be thinking of the term tooth mathematically. I do agree with the concept. I just think in this case, the devil might be in the details of how it's implemented, but that's fine. That can be worked out. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bustamante.
I appreciate this report, and frankly, I agree that the recommendations are sound, and it's really about integrating in the considerations that, integrating what has been said and the considerations that had been stated, and finding that the report substantiates many of those concerns that had been brought to us and the benefits that were anecdotally shared. So I don't really have any questions except to look forward as to how we're going to implement this, actually get it into the system. You know, I see that we have another item below this that requires us actually getting a general summary of an ordinance. So how that happens is part of a process that I'm not familiar with. Otherwise, I'm very, very much in favor with what has been recommended and looking forward to how we take the next steps. Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this report has a great deal of really important information, and I think it's going to take a little while to digest it. There's some work for the staff to do in terms of looking at the radius. I am not convinced that the radius idea is the best one. I mean, we have lines around our jurisdiction, which is the county line, and maybe that's the radius we should work in, because I don't, if short-term rentals aren't really a problem outside 5 or 10 miles outside the city, then I think imposing the density restrictions uniformly isn't going to hurt anybody outside that radius. But I may not be thinking about this right, so I would like staff to look at that a little bit. I think it was good to talk about enforcement, because we do get complaints. I've been getting complaints about a particular house in my district that seems to attract a lot of people who make a lot of noise and chase people up and down the road with drones and other such nuisance things. And I guess I wonder, one thing we didn't look at in this report is whether we want to restrict in residential areas the number of people. I mean, we restrict it to 2 people per bedrooms, but then we have some houses where outside corporations usually have come in and made 8 bedrooms, so you can have 16 people, and that may not be appropriate in every residential neighborhood, or maybe even any residential neighborhood. I think those are more like hotels or guest houses that maybe should be in our commercial areas. Certainly there's a place for those, because every year my family rents one somewhere, and so I don't object to the idea of having a place where 16 people can gather all in one house and have a good time, but I'm not sure that that belongs in a residential neighborhood. And I certainly agree with the idea of, I think the ordinance that we're going to consider after this just extends the moratorium so that we have time to consider it. I think originally we were thinking we might get this data more like in June or July and have time to process it by November. We don't really have time to process it. So, but anyway, those are my comments for now.
Commissioner Green.
Go ahead if you had a response to that. I can hold my question. If the gentleman sounded like he was going to.
Yeah, happy to hear a response.
Chris, did you have a response?
No, it's fine. Oh, yeah, excuse me. I believe that the ordinance already deals with how many people per household, and we didn't recommend changing that. So we did look at it, but I think it's covered already in the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why we didn't address it in the report. We said leave that part of the ordinance as it is, which was, I believe, 2 people per bedroom or something like that. I don't remember right now, but that's why it wasn't addressed per se in the report.
And interestingly enough, in all of our research and the data collection and the community survey responses and other things, in our data collection, this did not pop up as an issue. The total number of people who can stay in a particular house at one time. So Commissioner Hanson, the neighborhood the house in your neighborhood, no one sent in a note to us about that particular house. So I recognize that might be an issue there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, all the H's. Thank you very much. So in transparency, my wife and I own STRs, but not in Santa Fe County, although they are in Santa Fe County. They are in the city of Santa Fe. They are licensed and regulated by the city of Santa Fe. And we've been doing this for close to 15 years at this point. And we are non-owner operators, but we live next door. So we hear when people are laughing or having a good time next door. And it's actually nice, right? It's better than having my neighborhood had a lot of, prior to STRs becoming de rigueur and being the norm, we had a lot of vacant homes, right? And so we had a lot of homes that were literally dark, and we had break-ins where people would show up from, at Christmas and be like, somebody broke into my house 3 months ago, and because they don't have people taking care of their house. So having activity in your neighborhood is a knock-on benefit of this. And
Do you have your mic on?
I do.
Maybe you need to speak in.
Okay, I do. So yes, ma'am. So, but one of the points that I found with the presentation that I want to bring up is the fact that the Southwest Planning said this is a mature market, right? And the moratorium, we gave people a promise. This was before my time, but we gave people a promise that the moratorium would be lifted in November, and there is no quantification of what would happen if we didn't extend this. Would it be 200, 500, 5,000 homes that would suddenly rush the gates to get grandfathered in? I don't think so. I think it'd probably be a few that of some people that have purchased homes in this past year that says, I've waited until November. Now you told me that this was an opportunity for me to get licensed and so on. So I do not actually believe that at this point extending this is fair. We've had the concept of takings, and we gave people a promise in the past that this would sunset in a few weeks from now. And, if we have major adjustments to this, so be it. It does not look like the gloom and doom on the map is so apparent as to what was brought up to us originally, that there were thousands and thousands. There's maybe 500 or 600 in the county. I don't think that these recommendations are so ready and and I don't know that 3 months would do this, and I don't think it's fair to be adding this restriction for another 3 months when, there's probably been less than 1,000 homes eligible from this that were purchased in the last year in Santa Fe County. I did rough numbers from the home builder or from the Realtors Association, and it's close to 1,000 homes that have been sold in the last year. I doubt more than 10% of them would be wanting to become short-term rentals. So I do not think that this is something that's fair for those maybe 10%. I think
Madam
that we
Chair, Commissioner Green.
Yep.
Yeah, when you have a chance.
Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Bustamante.
Yeah, no, but
Okay,
I would cede the floor to, as a response if it's related. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you propose then that we would integrate the study, and with all due respect to say, I'm guessing 10%, when everything has been built on, and we started a conversation talking about data. So if we don't have that data, but we're just speculating, how would we actually integrate the recommendations that are made because of something that isn't deemed fair? I do have concerns about doing it right. So fairness with regard to what it means to how it's executed and how we would have to live with it in the future isn't fair either. So as much as there have been commitments that have been made, there isn't anything that says that a moratorium can't be extended in the interest of doing it right. So I guess it's a two-part question. How would we do it with the recommendations that we have been provided and have paid for, as well as assuring that we're going to do it right when even staff is saying if we're going to integrate this, they would need the time to actually get that done?
So I'm going to take a moment here. That is why we want a moratorium, is to integrate what the report has done, and it is only for 3 months. There was talk of doing it for 6 months. Our county attorney advised us that it would be more respectful to do it for 3 months. I think that staff, this has been a huge undertaking for staff. This is a tremendous amount of work, and they have done an outstanding job, and I want to thank them for the hard work on this. And I think it is incumbent upon us to give them that time to integrate what we have gotten in this report and take on this moratorium, and allow them to do the work in an environment that's not creating more work for them all of a sudden. You know, like 3 months is not a huge amount of time.
So let me give you, if I may, Madam Chair and Commissioner Bustamante. So imagine if I purchased a home 6 months ago, knowing full well that there is a moratorium that sunset on November 25th, and that based on the rules that were set up right now, that I would, on November 27th, or whatever the Monday is after Thanksgiving, that I would be able to go apply for a permit.
That's not what the regulation says.
Well, its current regulation says that the moratorium ends and I would be able to, I was precluded from this, and now the preclusion, the moratorium, is over. And now, based on the current rules.
But we also took the opportunity to actually say that we were going to take the data into consideration. And we were hoping to get that data before now.
Yep.
And we didn't get it. So, you know, like, maybe we don't want to just open this up because we want to rewrite the rules, and that's what we're going to do with the ordinance. And you're saying, oh, we'll just let them go in under the old rules before we've had a chance to update what we want to do.
Yes.
That's not fair to anybody.
No, it's fair to the current standards. The rules are the rules.
There are clearly valid pieces on both sides. But you have to admit, Commissioner Green's point is true. We set things up with specific expectations, and it's entirely possible that people moved forward operating on those expectations, and now we're changing the game. So we do have to, it's a factor I think we need to consider. The idea that we intended to do this with the data is critically important, but some of the data that and I'm not sure which is the exact right way to go. That's not what I'm arguing, but it is a very fair point that Commissioner Green is making. And one piece of data that Southwest did present is that the numbers are not increasing rapidly. That's why, you know, they made some of their other recommendations. If they had said this is on the verge of exploding, we're at the low part of an exponential curve, that would have been another thing. Now, that's not hard numbers, that's relative numbers. And so Commissioner Bustamante's point is valid, but it is in the perspective of their analysis that it's a maturing market and therefore less of a risk. That's all. I just think it's a fair point to consider in comparison to the real need of revising the standard.
They also said that we should limit the non-owners.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we have a reason to rewrite the moratorium, extend the moratorium so that we can limit the amount of non-owners so that we don't have an influx. But I have numerous other comments. But I'll
So
let you
to
finish.
continue on that, they also mentioned that the non-owner occupied in a systemic fashion is not really a problem in Santa Fe. This is not Vegas. This is not New York City where people have bought hundreds of apartments and homes. There's not enough of that volume in home. There's a little bit more in Santa Fe, but in the city of Santa Fe, those are mostly within the BCD and the commercial districts where some folks have purchased
Madam
those.
Chair, so what you just said is then we don't have the numbers that we're concerned with. So I go back to the original statement. We're making assumptions about a whole bunch of lives that are going to be affected because I thought a moratorium was going to be lifted now in November, and they went and purchased things, which we don't have any data on. We don't know how many people have actually done that. But what you just said is we were just told that there aren't a whole bunch of them. So I guess I still go back to what would be the hazard in extending a moratorium when we don't have any idea. You've both said we have people who went out and bought home. We have people who went out and bought homes thinking they were going to be able to have the second location or whatever it is that their plans are that are going to be impeded by the extension of a moratorium. But then you said, but it's not a big issue because they also have said we don't have a lot of that going on. In the interest of doing it correctly, because both of those cases, both of the examples that you've given do not have any data behind them. There's nothing that substantiates how many people we are talking about. So in the interest of doing it correctly, with whatever number of people may or may not have bought a house in the interest of using it as a commercial venue, I would say to do it correctly, especially being representing the portion of those more rural and remote areas, that this is a very big deal and that we have to do it right. I will, with all due respect to everybody who does that work, and I see people from growth management here, one of our big weaknesses is enforcement. It's not something that I would say the county is known for doing very, very, very well, and that is an issue. So if we do something and just say, well, we're going to go ahead and move forward with something that has already had its issues because we promised, we didn't make any promises, and again, it is before us, but it was stated that it would be in November, but nothing says that it can't be extended. So that being said, without having any real data that supports who has bought something in the interest of creating a commercial entity in the county, I am very much of the place that says let's do it correctly. And for those who may have bought in the interest of thinking I'm going to be able to do something commercial by the time this opens up in November, then there's just a little bit of hold on the interest of doing it correctly and ensuring that we have the infrastructure to actually enforce those things. Enforcement is a huge part of this, and it has been a weakness at least in the last 10 years, if not more. So I'm having a hard time understanding the case without you having the data saying on both sides.
And also, what staff is recommending and what the consultants are recommending is that we do the moratorium and for 3 months. I mean, they didn't say the amount of time exactly, but like we're not doing it for 6 months, which was the initial idea. And so I think 3 months is a really good compromise on that. But we're kind of a little ahead of the self because I think there's other recommendations that we need to give to staff, and I think that they are also looking for. And so...
So, Madam Chair, if I can respond to Commissioner Bustamante, there are two issues here that you're putting together. The first one is the data of these folks the systematic and the corporate nature is the part that I was saying is not happening here. So that's different than the other issue of people that are in the system here trying to do it. There's two separate things here. Second, if we move the goalposts on 2 levels and require that we extend the moratorium and change the rules, we are disempowering people that purchased homes, period. Absolutely. Takings, maybe the attorneys in the room will call it something else, but you are literally moving the goalposts on somebody that's set on the rules right now. They said on November 27th, I would be able to apply under the current rules, and if you change the rules or extend the moratorium and change the rules, that you have to let people in, that we gave ourselves a year to assess the situation. The folks in this data and this said this is not as big a threat as we thought it was. This is not destroying our neighborhoods like the threat was oh my God, this is killing us. It's not affecting affordable housing. There's so much positive here that they brought up that in the fact that we are going to move this, we're already on the hook for 1 lawsuit. Bring it on, I guess. Let's sit here and try to take another one on, right? I think that would be a much more legitimate lawsuit to say you've moved the goalposts and you've changed the rules.
And we have the ability to do that.
We do, but you also have
to do that.
We have the ability to do a lot here.
Right.
Yes, you're correct.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, I just want to point out to our new commissioners that when we set this up, it was always with the idea that we were going to change the rules because we didn't know what the rules should be. So we were always going to change the rules. I agree with Commissioner Green that there's probably not a terrible, awful thing that's going to happen if we don't extend the moratorium, but yet that is the recommendation of staff and the consultants. And I think also I was going to suggest, although I won't suggest this strongly at this point, that we do 4 months because December hardly counts with everybody on vacation. So 4 months would give the staff more time, but if we want to stick with 3 months, that means that we as the commission have to really work hard and rush to get the staff what we want them to do.
So I think that we should hear from staff because we've heard from the consultants. And I really think that we should hear from staff. And I do have a few also kind of maybe controversial issues that I'm just going to throw out there because even though the consultant did not hear consistently about people who have 7 bedrooms and have 14 people renting and 22 or 24 cars, I have heard a number of people complaining about that kind of situation in a residential neighborhood. That is not what we want. The idea of short-term rentals in the beginning was, I have a bedroom in my house. I have 2 bedrooms. I had 2 kids, and they're gone, and I want to rent those out. To transform a house in a neighborhood from that was maybe a 5-bedroom or 4-bedroom house, and they changed the den to another bedroom, and they changed another room to another bedroom, and all of a sudden now they have 7 bedrooms. That means they can have 14 people, and that means they can have 24 cars per day in a residential neighborhood. It's happening in Sunlit Hills, it's happening in Paseo del Sur, it's happening in El Dorado, it's happening other places. That's not the idea of short-term rentals. Even though Commissioner Hughes likes to stay in those kind of places, he also recognizes that it shouldn't be in residential neighborhoods. And I think that is something really important that we have to deal with. Do we limit the number of bedrooms, or do we limit the number of people? That was some of the recommendations that they made in the report about density. and I think that that's important. How many short-term rentals can one person have in the county? Like, that's something that we need, to talk about. That has to do with density also. Like, can one person have 5, 3, 2? There's other things. I also think that the owner so one of the other things that the report talks about is a tiered approach. And so let's say there's a person with a house and they have 1 bedroom. And they're the basic beginnings of the short-term rental. That was how it was designed. You have an extra bedroom and you rent that out. Those people, I'm fine with them having the $35 fee. That seems completely reasonable. Then when you get to people who have a 7-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house, and they're living in the guest house, and they are paying $35, that doesn't seem right to me. I am grateful to Isaiah for recognizing that we put this ordinance in place as the assessor, and that it has changed the aspects of the housing, because I think that is another important way to look at this. But I do think very strongly that that most people should pay the $300 a year as a fee, or as a registration, or as a license, or whatever you want to call it, because $300 is what people make in maybe 2 nights in anywhere in Santa Fe, and I don't think that that's unreasonable. I don't, maybe, and that's why I defined it as like the person who has the 1-bedroom house, who is original Airbnb, maybe their fee is still $35, but maybe they're happy. In Santa Fe, you pay $375 a year for every single house that you have, right? We're talking about enforcement and how we're going to pay for enforcement. Well, how you pay for enforcement is through these fees. And that's how most communities pay for their enforcement, is through their fees. And you can look, I have read tremendous amount about STRs, and that is their method of enforcement, is the fees that they collect. We are allowing these people to run a business in our neighborhoods. Many HOAs do not allow short-term rentals. Las Campanas does not allow short-term rentals. Other neighborhoods have regulations, have HOAs, but their HOAs are not going to ever enforce it. So, and is it up to us? It's not up to us to enforce HOA rules and regulations. This is one of the other things that needs to be edited in the ordinance, is, like, we're not responsible for HOAs. That's a civil matter. And so the high number of guests, and so these are some items that I think we need to give staff to work on. And so since we've each had a time to talk, I would like to hear from staff and hear their recommendations. Penny, thank you very much for being here. And thank you for all your hard work on this.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I think that staff's opinion is that if you do want to set limits on the number that somebody can have, the separation between them, that we should extend the moratorium. We would ask for the resources as well to allow staff time to be able to bring you back an ordinance quickly, and from the board's time to possibly have a study session before the next BCC meeting where we can have time to be able to provide all the options for each thing and know exactly what the board wants to do. If we have that, we can draft fairly quickly. We can bring back published title and then the ordinance, and hopefully we would get that done before the new February deadline. But we would need staff resources, meaning I will have to free up some of my team, and I think Jeff would free up his team, and the board's commitment to do a study session so we really get clear direction on each point.
I think that sounds fantastic, Penny. I really appreciate your comments. I feel very strongly that doing a moratorium for 3 months is, and giving staff the resources to continue this project and process is a really important thing for us to do, and respectful of the staff and all the hard work that they have done in the past.
Chair, in light of what Commissioner Hughes has said about the month of December, the question to staff, is that adequate? Does that raise flags that the holiday season does tend to take people away?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, time is always difficult. I think we would hope that we could have a study session before the next BCC meeting to possibly be able to then bring a published title document back at the end of November, and hearings, or early December, and then hearings either later on in, I guess there's not a late December meeting, so early January.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, so if you extend the moratorium by 3 months, in essence, our bogey for adopting a new ordinance with whatever those permanent rules might be is January 26th. So to give that context, I think that staff's comfortable that we can do that with the new report and data, so long as we're prioritizing that work and the board is prioritizing it as well. We'll work on what a potential study session, may be. Tacking it on to the beginning of a meeting, you might not want to do that. It makes the days longer, but perhaps we can find another time. But we can work out those details. But the point is, in doing it, number one, we are committing to providing those resources. And number two, the 3 months was, an effort to try and strike a balance between providing permanent regulations in a expeditious time frame, that while also one that allows for due consideration of the data and competing viewpoints by the board as well as the public through the public hearing process. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Schaefer. And also, the property owners also knew the rules could change because we said that. And they also, it also included extension. And we could have completely outlawed any more non-owners in the new rules. I don't think that's what we're going to do. But that was a possibility, that if they didn't register before the time, they were out. And that we didn't say, oh, this is going to end on November 26th, and then it's a free-for-all. We always said, and since you weren't here when we did this, we also always said that we were going to change the rules. And if the data came back and said, oh my God, you have way too many non-owners in the county, we could have limited, we would change the rules and say no more non-owners at all. So, it's not valid what you're saying, okay?
I will acknowledge that I wasn't in the room at the time of that, but we did say that we would have this all complied and completed by now. We extended the opportunity to register by a few months, but the moratorium was not, wasn't extended at the time. It's just moving goalposts at a time that, to me, is a little unfair for the folks involved in this.
Madam Chair, with all due respect, Commissioner Green, this isn't a football game, so the post wasn't being moved. When you get a report, you tend to take action on the report. So I would suggest that maybe we're mountain climbing and we didn't realize there was another hill. So I'm changing the metaphor from goalposts to mountain climbing. We got up a hill, we got information that is going to impact how we would move forward, but there's still another hill before us, and that we're going to go ahead and make sure that we only do a shorter hill than a higher hill. So that way we can get over that hill to accommodate those people who thought they were playing football. How does that sound?
So I think a study session is really the way to go. Thank you, Penny and Earl and Losida for that suggestion. And before the next meeting, so that means today's the 31st, our next meeting is the 14th. Do we want to do it before, on the day of the 14th? Or also, I would like to ask, are you, staff is comfortable with the 3-month moratorium? Yes or no? Yes, okay, that's what I see. Earl?
We'll do what we have to do.
Okay, thank you. Losida? Okay, so, and I know that Jeff has recommended that. So is it possible I could have a motion for the moratorium that is as written in the agenda?
Madam Chair, so moved.
You have a, there's public comment, but this is, do I have to do a public hearing? I don't think so.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, so this
Or
is
just publishing
this is
title
an
and
item to authorize publishing title and general summary. There will be a public hearing at I think it's November 17th at 2 p.m. or after, and that would be the time for public comment and a public hearing on this matter.
Right, so we are only publishing title and general summary today.
You will be able to speak at the next item on the agenda.
You will be able to speak in matters from public concern if you wish to on this item. This is only publishing title and general summary on the moratorium. Right, and there'll be other, and we will do a study session.
Madam Chair, I'll second the motion, and also, just to clarify, this only puts the matter out there. Everybody gets to come back on the 17th and tell us whether you like it or not.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, it's actually going to be part, if I could, I'm sorry to jump in, part of the special meeting that's already been scheduled for the 17th, just so that we can comply with noticing deadlines and the like. So it is the 17th on or after 2 p.m. It will be part of the meeting agenda for that special meeting. It's already on your calendars.
Okay, and in between that time, somehow we're going to find, but we'll deal with that next. So I have a motion to publish title and general summary. I have a motion from Commissioner Bustamante. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Do I need a roll call vote?
And you need a discussion.
Okay, under discussion.
Under discussion, I take, not offense, but I take issue with the fact that this is an emergency. This is a self-made emergency. I do not think that emergency clause is applicable right now. There are specific rules to the emergency clause that would trigger this, and I defer to the attorney to say whether he agrees, but I do not think that this is an emergency.
Mr. Young?
So the Madam Chair, Commissioner Green, the emergency clause does allow the board to implement emergency effective dates in the event that it affects public health and safety, and so that would be a determination by the board at the time of the hearing on that matter.
Okay, well then let's make our case that this is not an emergency or at that, but I do not think that this is an emergency, so thank you.
Okay, although, do I need a roll call vote? Okay, I will have a roll call vote. Deputy Clerk?
For the ordinance?
To publish title and general summary.
One moment.
Commissioner Camila Bustamante?
Yes.
Commissioner Justin Green?
No.
Commissioner Hank Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton?
Yes.
And Chair Anna Henson.
Yes. Thank you very much. The ordinance passes 4-1. Next,
The motion to publish title and general summary,
the motion to pass title.
because we still haven't passed the ordinance.
No, we still have, yes, you're right. And we will not do that for some time at the moment. Then, a study session. So I believe that we have 14 days. Is it possible that next Friday, or if we could all look at our calendars and see what is possible? The 10th happens to be a holiday. If you all didn't know, it's Veterans Day. I didn't know until I was told yesterday. So I guess we've given up on the Nixon progress of Monday holidays. I've been told that the 10th is a holiday. Is that correct, Ms.?
Madam Chair, so are we talking about having another meeting about this?
Yes, we're talking about.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, what I would suggest, if I could, is staff can get a sense of, time that we might need to provide you with as much useful and comprehensive analysis as possible, and then we'll, solicit potential dates for that study session. Again, with the idea that we're looking to adopt the permanent regulations at some meeting in January. If you work backwards, that would mean published title and general summary at the meeting in December. So I just put that out there. So if you would, allow us to do that, and then we'll try and solicit a date and time for a study session rather than putting something on the books now, would be my suggestion.
I'm fine with that, thank you.
And if I just may add, with the election next week, clerk's office will be a little swamped.
We know you're a little overbooked over there. Okay. We have listened to short-term rental presentation. We have passed the authorization to publish title and general summary. And now I'm going to go to matters from public concern. I wonder if Daniel is available to help with the timing. But otherwise, I have a number of people who did sign up for matters of public concern. You have, how many people want to speak? Would you please raise your hands? Six, and there's some online. So I'm going to allow it to 2 minutes. So if you would please line up. And Matt, can you help me with a timer? No?
Madam Chair, I am getting the timer up right now. I apologize.
Okay, so Daniel, you're here. Thank you very much. So if you could please put up a timer, I would be grateful. I will request the first person to come up for 2 minutes. Will you please, kind of do I have to have people sworn in? No, this is public comment. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Pat Lillis, and I imagine I can talk about the short-term rentals. Is that correct?
Yes, of course.
I have a different take on the report that we heard today. I'd never heard any mention of a primary residence requirement, which is nationwide the solution that many communities have. I wrote a letter to all of you, but it was the county isn't accepting my email, so I'm going to read part of it and add a couple things. In 2020, I wrote to Ulrich Binzer, who is the founder and CEO of Host Compliance, which is now Granicus, about short-term rentals, asking if there was a list of primary residents, communities that have primary resident requirement. He said, I don't think there is an official list, but pretty much any major city that is experiencing affordable housing challenges have a primary resident requirement at this time. Since our Santa Fe community exemplifies the, quote, experience affordable housing challenges, quote, I want to let you know why I think a primary residence requirement is the best idea. A primary resident requirement gives the county a chance to slow down the impact of investor non-owner occupied short-term rentals that raise rents for working individuals and families, drive up homeowner purchase prices, take long-term rentals off the market, displace families and working people, and also they fear long-term rental evictions due to short-term rentals. I suggest 3 additions or changes to the ordinance. I have been working on this for many years, by the way. One would be to include a basic primary resident requirement. What would be, there would be no need for no need for caps, easy to enforce, permanent resident of 6 to 9 months. So I guess I have to, anyway, please read the letter I sent to you.
And everybody, it was in everybody's box, and everybody got a hard copy.
Okay, but
I'm sure.
I hope everybody reads it, because it's pretty good. Anyway,
Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, next.
Good evening, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. My name is Chris Leslie Curtis. I am president of the Santa Fe Short-Term Rental Alliance. I live at 142 Vaquero Road near El Dorado. And I am here to go on record today to basically say first, we are now officially a 501c6 recognized organization. We are not the same organization as the fellowship. We are a different organization. We would like to go on record to say that we oppose the extension of the moratorium. It has hurt the real estate market. It is not pro-economic growth, and we oppose it. Additionally, I'd like to briefly state that although we know the county assessor's office does not report to the county commissioners, we also oppose the action to move short-term rentals classification from residential to non-residential. There are 3 existing court cases that I believe the assessors are aware of, at least 2 of them, but there's also a 3rd case that has been cited in the Lincoln County case. There is state precedence that has ruled that short-term rentals 3 times are primarily residential in use. Also, quickly, I would like to address that although the idea of what a short-term rental should be, that it's owner-occupied, and that's a better short-term rental than a non-owner-occupied, I'm going to tell you, as a non-owner-occupied short-term rental 5-star host, there is a bias in this room against non-owner-occupied short-term rentals. And that is very evident. And we want to see that short-term rentals that are non-owner occupied are treated with the same respect as owner-occupied short-term rentals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Stephen Shuley. I want to talk about short-term rentals. It seems to be the popular subject today. I found it really interesting to see the study that you did. Thank you for doing that. It was helpful to me. 84 Sunlit Drive West is a single-family residence on a narrow, windy dirt road with a steep driveway. It is permitted right now to have 22 daily guests, 14 overnight. When, excuse me, when I spoke to the fire chief, he said this is a disaster waiting to happen. The Fort Worth, Texas corporate owner, has threatened suit to the neighbors because they asked them to stop the noise at 2 a.m. They have an outside facility. The other day I saw a van load of men leaving the property. Now, they could be good people, could be missionaries from Utah coming to save us. The end of the day is you don't want a van load of men running through our neighborhoods or family neighborhoods. We have another property, 48 Texcoco. This is all Sunlit Hills, by the way. 3 buildings, each have 2 or more bedrooms. We're gonna have 12 to 18 people staying in them overnight. These are businesses. They're not in compliance with their zoning. They are found as businesses in accordance with the appellate court that found in Tiller Design that were supposed to be taxed as businesses. I believe an owner-occupied short-term rental makes much more sense than these, excuse me, these big corporations coming in, buying our homes, buying our affordable housing, pushing our teachers and our first responders out, and all the ones that are benefiting from this are the corporations, certainly not our neighborhoods, who, when I bought in Sunlit Hills, I expected to see my neighbors, not corporate people bringing in, large, van loads of guests. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Madam Commissioner, Commissioners, thank you for the time and opportunity to just speak with you. My name is Courtney Pettis. I grew up on a ranch south of here, very rural area, and it's deeply, personal to me to make sure that everything is safe, secure, but we're not prohibiting economic development in this area. But as implemented, the moratorium is doing directly that. It is being directly discriminatory against individuals who are unable to live in their property but are seeking to rent them out when they're not there to ensure that, that things are done in compliance. In April, I was denied a permit. I purchased a property as my parents are aging and need more assistance on the ranch. I am hoping to spend more time here, but my career has taken me elsewhere and I'm not able to do that. So simply because of 2 reasons, because I didn't purchase the property before November effective date of the ordinance, and because I am unable to live here full time, I am discriminated against and not able to get a permit. I work in a regulatory, tax, and permit agency. When we want to bring people into compliance, we don't tell them, no, you can't be a part of this. Regulations are naturally an iterative process. Things are what starts out as final today, we're going to get more data, we're going to understand, and we're going to change, and we're going to evolve those. We don't want to keep people out of being compliant simply because we want to get things perfect. That day is never going to come. You are going to get your existing permittees are going to have to change, and they're going to have to adapt to whatever you determine is going to be those changes that you do down the road. Keeping people out of the process right now, you don't even understand what the full environment is, full parameters of individuals that actually want to be permitted. You want that data, you want that information. By opening it up, it really helps you. And as far as resources, I think that a task force of individuals that really are dedicated to the community and want to see this done properly would be a great way to aid and assist in this process, and I would welcome that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hello, my name is Greg Sipp, and I've been living in Sunlit Hills for over 30 years in peace and quiet with neighbors, being neighbors, respecting each other. And about a year and a half ago, a hotel moves in next to my house. They gutted it, they put in all these bedrooms, so I don't know how many they can have in there now, but they can have 15, 20 people in there. It's a freaking hotel, okay? You permitted a hotel to move next to me and destroy my life. This is not fair. Now, there's been short-term rentals in Sunlit Hills forever. They've been guest houses, they've been owner-occupied, and they, and the thing about being owner-occupied, if they're too noisy, the people living right next there, they're going to say, hey, but I have, people partying every night. And the thing is, we've had noise issues in the neighborhood. You call the neighbor, and they, you say, oh, can you pipe it? No problem. No problem for over 30 years. These people are coming to party, and you ask them to be quiet, and they tell you, go screw yourself. We paid all this money to be here. We're going to have a good time. We don't care about you. So I just beseech you to limit the number of, short-term rentals. I think there should be owner-occupied, because, like I said, it's been forever we've had this in the neighborhood, and there hasn't been a problem. You see a couple of cars drive up, they don't make noise because the owner is there. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? If not, I believe, Daniel, you have some people online.
Madam Chair, we have one person online, Cynthia Carter.
Okay. Cynthia, can you unmute yourself? Hello? Cynthia? Daniel, is she able to unmute herself?
I cannot tell, Madam Chair, I cannot tell if she's trying to unmute, but I still see her online.
Okay, well, is there anyone else online? Daniel?
Madam Chair, there are no other users online that would like to speak.
Okay, and there's no one else in the audience who wants to speak? One more time. Okay, I am closing matters from public concern. I want to thank you all for your time and coming here to speak to us. I think it's important. We will be dealing with this short-term rental ordinance and moratorium and issue over the next couple of months. So your voice is valuable, and we appreciate it, and thank you for being here. I'll go on to matters from the county manager. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Really just wanted to note for the public and as a reminder to you that we do have our next strategic planning session scheduled for Monday, November 6th, beginning at 9 a.m. And in addition, we do have a special meeting of what will be both the Board of County Commissioners and the County Canvassing Board for Friday, November 17th at 2 p.m. Please check to make sure those dates are on your, and times are on your calendar. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Next, we'll go on to matters from county commissioners and other elected officials. Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you. I don't think I have anything. Thank you.
Commissioner Bustamante.
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, everyone in the audience, we're having a cleanup on Saturday of the Caja del Rio. Everyone is invited to meet at the La Cienega Petroglyph parking lot to participate in a cleanup of the area, and your participation would be absolutely welcome. As well, just to bring up a concern that some constituents have brought to me with the La Familia Medical Center possibly closing in 90 days, and in the southern part of the county, La Familia is very much used by a number of the constituents. I don't know if, how, what the county could possibly do to address the issue, but it has been brought to my attention that approximately 75% of the low-income residents in southern Santa Fe County, at least, use La Familia. And lastly, I would have to say I cut my teeth on dealing with county, with government, with anything, on dealing with road issues, and we all heard about a pretty disastrous issue that happened off of Highway 14 and Bonanza Creek Road. And I'm grateful that the county is going to help support. We'll have to work with the Department of Transportation to support marking. Whatever we do, people are racing through there and fatalities are happening. It's that kind of thing where we wait for the numbers to kind of rack themselves up so that we finally do something. So yet again today I did receive another email in the interest of making sure that when this issue comes before us in whatever way we're able to do something comprehensive at that intersection, that you all are aware of the issues as they build, right? So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bustamante. Commissioner Hughes?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things. My next Hour with Hank Town Hall will be on November 7th at 5:30, going back to the online format after a couple of in-person town halls. I'll also be meeting with Rancho Viejo North and Rancho Viejo South in the next couple of months. They have a lot of concerns about maintaining the existing roads and new developments in their area now that we're finishing the Northeast-Southeast connector. So I look forward to talking to them. I wanted to mention, since I'm your representative on the Regional Transit District, that we have ordered a fleet of electric buses. We had hoped they would come in 2024, but I think they're coming in 2025. It takes a while to build those, but I'm certainly looking forward to riding in one. And just sort of to tag on to what Commissioner Bustamante said, since Highway 14 is also in my district, at least the left lane when you're going out of town is my district, and the right lane. But we both heard a lot about a recent accident there, and I've also been hearing about the intersection of Highway 14 and Valle Vista, which is in my district. So I think maybe we need to bring this to the Metropolitan Planning Organization as we have more houses built along Route 14. I think we're going to need to improve that road, at least as far out as the the housing goes, because it's not really as much of a rural road as it used to be, and it probably needs some improvements. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would be happy, by the way, to discuss this with the MPO at the next meeting, but I would recommend that we put it on the list for the MPO now because they're seeking new projects in the next few days. So if we want to go reach out to Eric, I would recommend that we do that right now to study this, because otherwise you're just going to miss a year. So in terms of things that are going on in my district and things that are going on in that I'm covering, Tasuki, the Tasuki Village Association is going to be having their first of many cleanups. I'd like to thank the staff at the county for helping coordinate with some bags and gloves and implements of destruction to help pick up the trash. This is going to be happening this weekend on November 5th. I want to congratulate the town of Chimayo for getting their temporary post office reopened this week. However, it is really a temporary solution, and so I'm encouraging us to start working on how to get a permanent solution and a more accessible and weather-controlled situation up there. And so I'm working with our congressional delegation and potentially with the community up there to identify a better location for that more permanent solution. And then also, Tuesday is Election Day. And so please, if you live in the city, or actually if you live in the county, there are ballot issues for everybody, including the community college board. So even if you don't live in the city, you should go vote. And early voting ends on Saturday, and Election Day is on Tuesday. So please go vote, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. So for me, we had a milestone where for the Coalition of Sustainable Communities on the 13th, the governor announced the New Mexico Climate Investment Center, and that is moving towards a green bank, which is really a fund to help with low income and sustainability housing, and many other things that a green bank can do. We had the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area board meeting. I am now the vice president, and we created an emeritus board, and a number of our members joined the emeritus board who have been on the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area for 20 years. And so that was a really good progress and something I had championed because I felt like it is a very important organization that provides a lot of grant opportunities throughout the counties of Rio Arriba, Taos, and Santa Fe. We also chose our grantees, and that list will be coming out soon. I want to thank everybody who came to the Romero Park ribbon cutting. It was quite successful. We had at least, according to PJ, about 100 people there, and it was incredibly fun, and people were playing pickleball and, you know, enjoying the park and enjoying the playgrounds. And I think it's really great to have a new regional park, and Sheriff Mendoza and I held a coffee and tea, which was really good. And one of the main things that we discussed was catch and release, which seems to be a real problem throughout Santa Fe County and the state of New Mexico, and how can we address this problem, this crime problem. And I believe that crime is going to be on the governor's call, and so I think that we do need to think about what catch and release means and how we can work on addressing that, because what happens is that the jail becomes a revolving door, and the people get arrested, let out, and then they get rearrested, and then they get let out, and they get rearrested, and then they get let out, and they don't get to sentencing. And so I think it is up to our DA to really start working on sentencing and making the catch and release process not so ordinary. Yeah. We had a great conference here with the outdoor recreation, outdoor economy for a couple days. It was really well attended from throughout the state, and I had the honor and privilege of going on one of the outings, and I went to Pouillet Cliffs, and it was just amazing, and I'm really honored that I got to go there. And at the moment, that's all I have. So I am going to move on to matters from other elected officials. And Madam Deputy Clerk, I know you want to remind people to vote.
I do want to remind people to vote. So yes, we have early voting going on now through Saturday. We have absentee drop boxes that would just love to accept anybody's absentee votes. We are encouraging people to use the absentee drop boxes because the post office, the mail is really slow right now. And to guarantee that we receive your absentee ballot, we are requesting people use the drop boxes. And then, of course, Election Day is next Tuesday. So by all means, everybody come out and vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for that reminder to please go vote. And you can go vote at 100 Catron and numerous other places around the county. Next, we're going to go to matters from county attorney, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I would ask that we go into executive session tonight to discuss the following threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant, as allowed by Section 10-15-1H7 in MSA 1978, specifically including City of Santa Fe versus the Board of County Commissioners. That's in the First Judicial District Court, case number D101CV 2023-01555. Also, FMCS case number 230130-03039, Santa Fe County Deputy Sheriff's Association in Santa Fe County. Number 3, Emmons versus Santa Fe County, U.S. District Court, District of New Mexico, case number 123CV00588. And then finally, a David Garcia tort claims notice.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we won't go into executive session and that we will adjourn prior, and we will not reconvene afterwards.
Second?
Okay, roll call vote.
Yes, Madam Chair. Commissioner Camila Bustamante?
Yes.
Commissioner Justin Green?
Yes?
Commissioner Hank Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton?
Yes.
And Chair Anna Hansen.
Yes. Okay, so we will be adjourned and not be coming back into the chambers. So good night, everyone, and happy Halloween.